procedure earlier this week. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 hasn't let up, but we have to keep this economy rolling. NetSuite will help your business make that happen. That's why over 21,000 companies, including Boll & Branch, makers of the world's softest sheets, choose NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. We talked to David Reed, CFO of Boll & Branch, about how they use NetSuite.
Before NetSuite, we were stitched together with spreadsheets and hope. Now I have only one source of truth for our financials, HR, inventory, and supply chain. Because NetSuite is cloud-based, working from home didn't change a thing. We're still bringing affordable luxury into homes all across America. I'm now closing the books 5 to 10 times faster thanks to NetSuite.
NetSuite surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of the top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox.
One Marine is dead, 8 others missing after a training accident off the coast of Southern California.
The Marines say the accident took place off the coast of Southern California Thursday afternoon, when an amphibious assault vehicle carrying 15 Marines and a Navy medic sank during a training exercise. 2 Marines have been hospitalized, including 1 in critical condition. Search and rescue operations continue off the coast of San Diego for the missing Marines and a sailor. The name of the Marine killed in the accident has been withheld, subject to next of kin notification. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
The grand jury has indicted 6 former Houston police officers whose work with the narcotics unit has been under scrutiny since a 2019 drug raid where a couple was killed. The former officers are accused of falsifying documentation about drug payments to confidential informants, routinely using false information to get search warrants, and lying on police reports. Kanye West resurfaces on Twitter as he works to move his presidential bid forward.
After almost a week of staying away, Kanye West posted on Twitter Friday, writing, "There is a tactic of 4 Ds: distract, discredit, dismiss, to destroy. I'm quite all right. Take a second and think about what is being projected here." The rapper then posted a second tweet writing, "I cried at the thought of aborting my firstborn and everyone was so concerned about me. I'm concerned for the world that feels you shouldn't cry about this subject." The rapper's presidential run in New Jersey is being challenged by a former Democrat. Scott Salmon wrote to the Garden State Board of Elections to contest West's 30 petitions, stating more than 600 names were in some way defective. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Facebook says its users will now be able to view and share official music videos. The company has inked deals with Sony Music Group, Universal Music Group, Warner Music, and others in an effort to better compete with YouTube, which is owned by competitor Alphabet. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
A new report released this week has found that nearly 3/4 of sleepaway campers' parents are currently using their children's time away from home to take the first steps towards filing for divorce.
With 46% of campers' moms currently staying with their sisters while they try to figure it out, and 38% of campers' dads sleeping on the living room couch and staring at the ceiling for hours before falling asleep.
Most campers are, at this precise moment, wholly unaware that their fathers are looking for temporary sublets and are experiencing a level of carefree, joyful buoyancy that experts say they will never feel again.
The majority of campers currently have, on average, 16 days until their lives come crashing down around them, at which point their parents will pick them up from camp, drive them to a restaurant, and then break the news that while they'll always be a family, they won't be living together anymore.
I love camp this year. It's so much fun. Mom sent me so many care packages. Dad even sent one. It's awesome.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us here on the radio waves. You can dial in. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Chris. And nobody.
We've definitely been focusing on the economic situation presenting itself here in the United States, what with people losing jobs, businesses closing, the dollar being inflated beyond recent memory, record-setting levels, according to the story we're about to give you from Cointelegraph.com. And gold, of course, is at record highs over the last week. Today, according to the Kitco price, it's at over $1,976 per ounce for an ounce of gold. That is, we're up in the record high range. It broke through its record high, which was right around 1920 earlier this week.
Seems more fair to say the dollar's at a record low.
That's another way to look at it, absolutely. In fact, we're going to tell you more about why that is the case here. But in addition, there's like these gold-backed stable coins online as well. One of them is called Pax Gold. Pax Gold is represents a digital version of an ounce of gold that just crossed $2,000 today. So gold is likely, they keep printing out those dollars. You're going to see the gold price continue to rise, and seems like Bitcoin's following suit as well, with Bitcoin staying firm at over $11,000 basically all week long. Which it hasn't stayed for very long. It's kind of peaked up a couple times in the last 2 years at 11,000, but it hasn't really stayed for very long there. Usually it falls right away down to around 9,000 or below. So we may see, you never know what's going to happen in the world of cryptocurrency, but gold certainly has held its value historically against fiat currencies as a long-time hedge against inflation. And inflation, for listeners who aren't familiar, is the act of printing more money into existence, or incrementing zeros in a computer to create more money in existence. Fiat money, that is to say, it was created by the fiat of the king, or in this case, the Federal Reserve. And Cointelegraph reporting in a letter to investors released July 29th, Pantera Capital CEO Dan Morehead noted that the United States has printed a shocking amount of money to, quote, combat the pandemic-induced financial crisis. Well, you're laughing because we know better. We know that printing money doesn't combat squat. It's not going to combat anything, except what it's going to do is it's going to steal value from the pockets of the people who are holding the other money, the other dollar bills.
It combats bankers having to work for a living, is what it is.
Right. Quote, the United States, get this, the United States printed more money in the month of June than in the first 2 centuries after its founding.
Wow. Money printer go brrr.
Yeah, it just keeps on going.
I say print and print and print away because none of my wealth is in dollars.
Last month, the U.S. budget deficit, $864 billion, was larger than the total debt incurred from 1776 to the end of 1979.
What could possibly go wrong?
Morehead made it clear that Pantera Capital sees Bitcoin as the solution for the current crisis. He also contrasted the effects of money printing in recent months to how the equivalent amount of currency had performed across centuries. Quote, with that first trillion printed in U.S. dollars, we defeated the British imperialists, bought Alaska and the Louisiana Purchase, defeated fascism, ended the Great Depression, built the interstate highway system, and went to the moon, he said. Morehead, now, of course, it wasn't because of printing that those things happened. I think that should be made clear. He's just saying that all those things occurred within the time frame he's referring to. He cited the resulting inflation as the main reason one should, quote, get out of paper money and into Bitcoin. According to the CEO, quote, there's no need for inflation-adjusted numbers with Bitcoin because there is no inflation / hyperinflation. And just to expand a little further on what he's saying there, technically Bitcoin is inflationary in that it does, the more Bitcoin is being mined into existence every 10 minutes, basically. There's, I think, 12 and a half, or did it? No, it cut to 6.25. That's right. We had the halvening earlier this year, so it cut the mining rate from 12.5 to 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So the thing is, even though Bitcoin's inflationary in that the money keeps, the amount of Bitcoin in circulation continues to go up, it's predictable. We know when the inflation rate of Bitcoin is going to cut in half.
And there's a finite amount of
That's correct.
Bitcoin that will ever be produced.
Unless they change it.
Well, I mean,
which they could do. Everybody thinks they're not going to change it, but they could.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but in theory, there will only be 21 million Bitcoins ever printed.
I mean, they would kind of be undermining
whatever you want to call it.
They would be undermining their own thing.
They would be.
to do that.
They would be, but they're already doing
they'd
that.
be undermining their own thing if they let the fees go to ridiculous rates and transactions.
And they
take 2
have.
weeks,
That's what they're
too.
doing.
And you're right. So it's not impossible. I mean, they haven't done it. I think ultimately they haven't done it to such a degree that it's ultimately collapsed on itself.
Well, that's because in this case they're undermining it through negligence, whereas what you're talking about would be undermining it by actively doubling the amount of Bitcoin that they could print. So the negligence that nobody is referring to here is that when Bitcoin has reached its maximum capacity, and it has been for the last 2 or 3 or 5, 4 years basically. It's back in 2017, its fees peaked up because what happens is they didn't expand the potential, or they didn't expand the capacity for the network to handle more transactions. A very, very small amount of Bitcoin transactions can go through per second or per minute. And they've been at that level for quite a while. And so what ends up happening is people will bid because you have to pay a fee every time you send a Bitcoin transaction. And that fee, back when a lot of us got into it, was like a cent or less than a cent for a Bitcoin transaction. Didn't matter how many Bitcoin you were sending.
I don't even think people understand how few transactions they process. It's something.
It's like 3 a second or something.
I thought it was like maybe 10 or something like a second, but 10 a second is nothing compared to like
Visa.
Yeah, compared to like
PayPal.
credit cards. Yeah, I mean you're talking about I don't know, maybe 20,000 or more. Probably maybe it's much higher than that even. I just remember being super high relative to Bitcoin. But these are not problems that can't be solved. These are simply problems that they've refused to solve.
That's right.
At least to the extent that they need to be solved currently.
And as a result, Bitcoin fees over the last 2 days have hit over $5 on average, close to $5.60, right? To I guess this was yesterday. $5.59 was the average fee paid. Now the median fee I think is probably at around $3.50 to $4, but it's a lot of money. It's hundreds times more than what it actually should be. If it were able to scale up to the demand in the marketplace, but sadly the programmers of Bitcoin have completely dropped the ball. They've been focusing on all these other things, like this thing called the Lightning Network, which still isn't in production yet. It's still not real. Like it's in a test mode, and people have lost money on it.
I'm still amazed at how bad they managed to mess it up.
Yeah, it was a simple fix. All they had to do was increase the block size.
Yeah, that's all they had to do. It wasn't necessarily something that had to be long term. They didn't have to increase it to 4 megs. They could have They could have just doubled it, right? And solved the problem.
Needed to double it again,
surely,
though.
Eventually, but in the short term, it would have solved the problem. And they could have then gone on from there to solve the problem a different way that didn't involve increasing the block size further.
Yeah, I mean, when you have to fix something fast, you put in a kludge. Nobody likes doing it, but everybody does it. And because, you have to keep your systems working. It's very disappointing, but I mean...
Yeah, it is, because I like Bitcoin.
I'm very happy with Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Bitcoin SV even.
You know what I'm really liking about Bitcoin though is that the sources are available, and so you could fork it, and people did,
and they have.
We ended up with a competition, and I think that's something to remember, that with all the faults in its developers and the team that makes the decisions.
They can't force it on us.
Yeah, they can't force it on the public because the original developers, thought about these things.
The toll-free number, if you want to join us here, it's 855-450-FREE. So we're talking about record money printing that's happening. Again, just the month of June, more money printing happening in the United States than the first 200 years that the United States existed as a country. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Another 83 tons in fake gold found in China. Crypto still much harder to counterfeit. Host Stefan Molyneux banned from YouTube. Receives $100,000 in crypto donations afterward. Reporters uncover $11 trillion in offshore government-sanctioned bank accounts. Bitcoin Cash still potentially private and unconfiscatable. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies. Getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen. so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Everyone needs to get a justice shed. So you have a place to throw that little juvenile delinquent you caught loitering out on the street corner. This is not rocket science, people. I just call up my neighbors, Frank and Terry. We get out there with baseball bats, fishing nets, and we knock that suspect out. And we toss him in our justice shed. We just start dealing out some shovel beatings. That's democracy, people. That's the biggest benefit of the Justice Shed, people. You are in charge.
Our Justice Shed was all filled up, so we created this Justice Cage. It's just as good. These guys, I think we caught them shoplifting, and this is my daughter's boyfriend.
Look, if you don't have a yard big enough to place a Justice Shed in, go out and get yourself a Justice Barrel. I don't care. The important thing is to take control of your safety by any means necessary.
This is the Onion News Network.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial in toll free, bring up whatever is on your mind. We're talking about the money printer. It's going big time. In fact, more money in the United States added in the process of inflation in just the month of June than in the first 200 years of the existence of the United States. That according to Cointelegraph.com. With you in the studio here tonight, you've got Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
Hey, if you want to help local businesses accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin Cash and Dash, well, you can do that. In fact, they added Bitcoin SV recently and even a stablecoin, USD stablecoin to the AnyPay system. And if for whatever reason you still want to use old BTC, you can do that with AnyPay for now. Over at anypayinc.com, that's where you can go to learn more about it. But you can be an ambassador to your local businesses. Like, get a local mom and pop signed up with AnyPay, and you actually can earn passive income for every purchase made in Bitcoin Cash and Dash at those businesses. So you go to AnyPayInc.com. You can learn more about AnyPay there. Or better yet, just go download the AnyPay Cash Register app at your Google or Apple app stores over at, again, whichever one you want. Download AnyPay Cash Register, get it set up for yourself, test it out, get familiar with it, and then help local businesses get on board and start accepting cryptocurrency. Now, of course, it helps if you live in a place like Crypto Mecca here in Keene, New Hampshire, where there's literally like almost a dozen downtown businesses.
I think it's 14 or 15 now.
Like real life businesses?
Brick and mortar retail, yeah.
It's amazing.
Although here the low-hanging fruit has been plucked.
Has it?
And where you are, it probably hasn't.
Are there low-hanging fruit for Bitcoin?
Well, I would say that Roberta was probably the lowest hanging fruit.
She's the owner of Corner News,
she was,
first business to take Bitcoin here. In 2013 was when she started.
Yeah, she got in real quick. Didn't take a lot of convincing.
Well, that's true. I mean, she was already friendly with us, though, because she was a supporter of Cop Block, for instance, in the past. She has a little Corner News store here. It's got, drinks and cigarettes and things like that. But she actually had Cop Block T-shirts in her store for some amount of time back when that was a thing here in New Hampshire. Awesome. Back when Silver Dave was doing metal, or he was doing silver. He was like minting silver in his own personal mint that he built and was selling it for Sons of Liberty Mint. She was selling silver in her store. She was selling his silver in her store. So she's kind of always been on board with helping out what we do. So I would definitely say she was a low-hanging fruit, but it helps if you actually are interested in Bitcoin, if you know business owners that are interested, or you can start from zero and just introduce them and turn them on to it. Check them out. Check out over at AnyPay. AnyPay Cash Register, that's the name of the app. So we're talking about the insane money printing going on here and how Bitcoin is not susceptible to political manipulation by politicians, although arguably Bitcoin's administrators or their programming team has really dropped the ball on keeping Bitcoin scaling up to whatever the demand in the marketplace is. It is failing big time once again. Now, for the last couple of years, we saw typical Bitcoin fees at around $2, maybe $1.50. If you were lucky, you might catch a day where it was 60 cents to $1 for a Bitcoin transaction, but not in the last few weeks. It's been going up, and now we're seeing $5, $6. I paid a $9 fee the other day to send some Bitcoin to reload I think it was a Bitcoin vending machine. Either way.
Yeah, this is why
it's
I always,
crazy.
When I get crypto in, I always convert to Bitcoin Cash or some other cryptocurrency first before I start making smaller transactions with it, because it's just costly.
Yeah. I don't understand, truly, I do not understand why Bitcoin is considered so much more valuable by a lot of traders. I mean, for it to be at a 40x factor with so many coins that work way better just is bizarre. But then again, as Milton Friedman pointed out, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Yeah, that's true. And, Bitcoin does have the first mover advantage. It was the first cryptocurrency. There's a lot of people who are Bitcoin-only fanatics. They believe Bitcoin is the one true coin.
I don't even think it's... what I think it comes down to is most people don't use cryptocurrency as a currency.
No, they don't.
They use it as
an investment vehicle.
Yeah, as an investment vehicle.
Speculative investment.
Right, speculative. Exactly. You couldn't have said it better. And it's just at the end of the day, until you have people actually using it in the real world, in brick and mortar and online and everywhere else. And there's some online and there is some brick and mortar, but it's a lot of it's focused in certain areas, and most of the people who are using it ultimately end up not being in it for its useful properties as a currency, but as an investment, which to me doesn't. I kind of get it, but it's not really. It's not really what people should be using cryptocurrency for. It should be as a medium of exchange.
And the thing is, I don't understand how that can be in the long run a good investment when the coin doesn't
do what it's supposed to.
It's people are going to get sick of paying those transaction fees, and they're going to get sick of long transactions.
Particularly if it doesn't go up in value, right? It has, but if it's unless you get more new investors, at some point it's not going to go up anymore, and you're just going to be paying ridiculous fees.
Right, because if everybody just buys this thing and holds on to it, what's the point of that? The reason why Bitcoin was useful was because you could do things like micropayments. You can't anymore, but originally you could. There was a whole website that a listener of ours, actually, Doug Scribner, who is a longtime listener, supporter here on Free Talk Live, he created this website called Watch My Bit. And we had him on to talk about it when he was promoting it at different Bitcoin conferences back in the day. And what it was a video streaming site that allowed the video creator to monetize directly from the viewer. So instead of a YouTube advertiser model, this was a, hey, pay me 5 cents and you can watch the video kind of a model. Or you could set the price, right? So if it was 10 cents or $1 or
like a donation.
Whatever donation. Or you could just let it be whatever the person wanted to donate, right? So maybe they only want to give you 1 cent or 2 cents or whatever.
I love the tipping model personally.
But that was a model that worked with Bitcoin in the past. But then because the Bitcoin reached its maximum capacity and the fees started going up, well, now if you want to send 50 cents worth of Bitcoin, you got to include a $3 fee on top of that. And no one's going to do that.
It's ridiculous. I don't know that the crypto or Bitcoin's value is gone to zero. But it certainly has.
It's at 11,000.
No. I mean in terms of its usefulness as a currency, but it's certainly gone way down relative to other cryptocurrencies.
Right. If you're not sending large amounts of money with Bitcoin, it's not useful.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel badly because nearly all of what I sell is Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could tell these people that, there's no reason to use BTC as opposed to the rest of the rest of the crypto.
And the crazy thing about that is, where Bitcoin's accepted, every place that I've seen where Bitcoin was accepted, they've also accepted Bitcoin Cash. So like there's not even a good reason,
like online
or off. Can you think of any places that didn't accept Bitcoin Cash? Because all the major platforms, accept it. Or intermediary platforms that people use to accept cryptocurrency. So
that's because I know BitPay at one point took on Bitcoin Cash, they sort of allowed all their customers to start accepting it in one fell swoop, whether they cared or not, because they could convert it one way or the other.
Yes.
So 855 450 free. And by the way, tomorrow's Bitcoin Cash's third birthday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yay.
August 1st, 2017. 855 450 free like freedom. That was the very first time Bitcoin split. We can tell you more.
Ancestry, the global leader in family history and consumer genomics, released results of a survey commissioned to understand how consumers viewed their health risks during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to results, almost half of all Americans and nearly 50% of parents said the COVID-19 pandemic has increased their interest in understanding their possible genetic health risks. Dr. Ron Park, Executive Vice President of Health and DNA at Ancestry.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made clear to many people the importance of taking proactive actions to protect their health and their family's health. The survey shows that this applies to not only concerns specific to COVID-19, but also other health issues such as genetic risks.
Ancestry Health, launched last year to increase access to personalized preventive health care, will soon be powered by next-generation sequencing, an advanced technology that provides a comprehensive analysis of inherited health risks. Visit ancestry.com/health.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you bring up what you want right here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bitcoin.com, and I'm sure they're going to be celebrating the third anniversary of Bitcoin Cash over at Bitcoin.com. In fact, I saw their most recent podcast, or their podcast/video show that they do on YouTube had also been celebrating the third anniversary, which again is tomorrow. So go to Bitcoin.com. You can learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash there. They give you kind of an introductory thing. And there's also, of course, the way that you can buy Bitcoin Cash in dozens of different payment methods through local.bitcoin.com, or go to their news site to get the latest news headlines about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and the cryptocurrency world. It's Bitcoin.com. We're talking about the crazy money printing going on, and it's not just printing of money, it's also the incrementing of numbers in computer systems, in the banking system, things like that. And then, of course, giving those new dollars that they've printed out to their politically connected buddies in industries like the airline industry, which is already burning through $25 billion worth of handouts that they got earlier this year. And now they're bellying up for another possible $35 billion. So that's going on. And, of course, plenty of other government-connected agencies and industries have been lining up at the trough, so to speak. According to Cointelegraph.com, Goldbug Peter Schiff is also concerned about the effects of money printing. He noted that comments by the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who said this week the Fed was using its, quote, full range of tools, unquote, to respond to the pandemic, printing money, keeping interest rates close to zero, and making asset purchases steady at $120 billion per month. Quote, the U.S. is about to experience one of the greatest inflationary periods in world history, Schiff said recently on Twitter. He said further, quote, any credibility the Fed has left will be lost. Federal Reserve notes soon won't be worth a continental, unquote. Now, what is a continental? Well, it was paper money that the U.S. was at one time exchanged for Treasury bonds at 1% of its face value. And wasn't that during the Civil War?
Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, was it the Revolution?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was put out by the Continental Congress.
Didn't they do some sort of scam paper during the Civil War, too, though?
They did. The South had a currency,
Was it the greenback? Did they call it back then?
That also went down to like zero value afterward. And I think they had issues, people with accepting it, because, if they lost, then it wouldn't be worth anything.
Right.
Yeah, the greenback I think was actually silver-backed.
Oh wow! Well, that's over.
But it and other things weren't during the war. We think of it as one long period of the gold standard, but the reality is every time countries went to war, they would generally drift away from the metal standard. They'd start lying and cheating, and then it would take them a while to get their poop back in a group after the war. So you can see like falls in the value of the dollar during the Civil War and the Revolution.
Despite widespread fears over inflation, many experts predict consumer prices will actually go into a period of deflation. And they say that's what happened in Australia this week, where ABC News reported that the consumer prices in the country actually dropped 1.9% in June. It's a record for deflation since the Korean War. However, many pundits believe the inflation is actually hidden in asset prices rather than consumer prices, and that money printing has underpinned the share market rally in the midst of the pandemic. Pantera Capital revealed its investment strategy for riding out the pandemic. Quote, stay long crypto until schools/daycare open. Until then, the economy won't function and money will be continuously printed. So I don't know who Pantera Capital is. I certainly don't endorse anything that they say as far as how to invest. I'm not an investment advisor, but my intention is to stay in crypto for the rest of my existence.
My intention is to invest in things that make me money, not things that stay the same in value or go down in value or just go up a little bit.
Well, I have the expectation that cryptocurrency, now which ones will win in the long run, I don't know, but I have the expectation that cryptocurrency is going to stick around and is going to become more valuable over time.
Sure. I think you're right on that one. I just don't know that it's necessarily like, cryptocurrencies are a little bit less predictable, I think, than other types of investments.
Yeah.
So if you have an investment where you're going to double your money in a certain amount of time, and you can be pretty confident in that, I'm going to probably put money in that.
Those investments don't exist.
Yeah,
for the most
do you
part.
know of something like that, bro? Because don't hold out on it.
Okay, whatever the
a
number
lot of
is,
time they're scams. If somebody comes to you and says they're going to double your money, look out.
Well, I mean, it depends.
Well, I doubled money.
Hold on.
Doubled my money pretty frequently selling weed.
That's true.
Yeah,
if you can flip a product for twice the amount, then
yeah. I mean, most businesses. Okay, so it depends on how you're looking at it, but most businesses, whatever you're paying for that product at retail is going to be 2 or more times, what they're getting it at. Now, obviously, there's costs involved in running a business and so on.
Like
so
paying staff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you might not actually be doubling your money, but depending on the length of time that you're talking about too, you can also potentially double your money. If you're talking about a really long period of time, obviously you could probably double your money.
No doubt. I mean, but a lot of that involves pretty serious work and some risk, right? Like,
obviously.
You don't just get to put some money into a thing and then take twice as much out.
If I'm 85 years old, it's going to be in crypto. It's not going to be in some sort of investment that I have to wait 3 years on to see a return.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously the 3-year investment is probably going to be, a more risky investment too. So, and when you're older, obviously you want less risk because you're not going to be around. You can't just wait it out.
Wait, when you're older, I would think you'd want more risk.
No, not necessarily.
Not generally.
Not generally. Yeah. No, usually it's
because the thing is risks take time to materialize.
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to see the benefit. Maybe your children will, but also, if you lose a big hunk of money when you're old, you can't just necessarily go out and get a job and
you wouldn't want to risk everything.
Could you imagine? I just think about there was this lady in Keene who wanted to put 70% of her retirement monies into Bitcoin, and then there was at like $20,000, and we were like, bad idea. And then it dropped to under 10,000. And
did she put her money in?
She didn't, thank God.
Oh, okay.
But it's like when you're retirement and that's all your money, and you don't even have that much. You don't want to risk it like that.
Well, that's why I wasn't going to suggest that people risk their entire portfolio or all of their earnings or whatever. But if you're really old, then you got nothing to lose. I mean, if you have some savings, then you can take extreme risks with some of that, I would think.
Yeah,
What's it matter?
Maybe to some degree or some portion of it, it would still make sense. But
I'm not saying all of it.
You don't want to. Well, I mean, like you say, I frequently hear you say you don't want to invest more than you can afford to lose.
That's right.
So
exactly. So if you want to join us here, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. So we were talking about the money printing that's just been getting crazy. As around us, we're seeing some pretty crazy news coming from economic factors like, here's one for you, the Motley Fool reporting almost half of all the jobs lost during the pandemic may be gone permanently. COVID-19's outbreak has done a number on the U.S. economy, which always the media says this, but the reality is it's the government and the restrictions that have done a number on the U.S. economy. If people had just treated COVID-19 like they did with every other flu and pandemic that had come out, which is to say, do nothing differently and just go about their lives, then we wouldn't have had huge job losses. We wouldn't have businesses going under left and right. Maybe some more people would be dead, but at the very least, you wouldn't have the suicides. You wouldn't have the businesses being destroyed. And it's just getting started. By the way, we get the Dunkin' Donuts shutting 800 stores very soon. Now, that's only 8% of their stores. They've got an S-load of stores out there, but
that's still a lot of stores.
And I think that's probably pandemic, crackdown related.
It probably is, yeah.
There's not as many people. If you are in the habit of going to get coffee and a donut every single morning, which is not a good habit to have, but if that was the habit that you had, and then all of a sudden you don't have a job anymore, or there's the potential that you're not going to have a job, maybe you're going to tighten your budget a little bit and decide, well, I guess I'll make my own coffee at home and forgo the donuts.
Or if you're not going out and you're working from home, you're just going to make your own coffee. You're not going to go out, get coffee, and then come back.
And you're probably not going to go out and get donuts and come back, right? So fewer people likely going to get coffee and donuts, meaning 800 stores closing, and a lot of people out of work. They're saying here a lot of these jobs aren't going to come back. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you want to join us, you can here on Free Talk Live.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
We are GCN, the Genesis Communications Network. We've got listeners, lots of them. Around the world, around the clock, our listeners do what listeners do. They listen. And you know what listeners got? Needs. Needs for your products, your services, and money to buy those needs. With our network of over 1,000 radio stations, streaming on the web, and our satellite transmissions, we're reaching our listeners with quality conservative programming. But there's something our listeners don't have: your offer to meet their needs. Any business needs buyers, but if our listeners don't hear your message, they're still going to buy what they need, just not from your business. So let's fix this. Tell us about your business. Then let our super creative department go to work to craft just the right message for our GCN listeners. Get started today with GCN, the Genesis Communications Network. Just shoot us an email. advertise@gcnlive.com.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTac Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, you dial in, toll free, bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, a LSD mastermind is being released from federal prison. It's great news. We'll tell you about that one. We'll change gears a little bit here because there's plenty of economic disaster news out there that we can continue to talk about. On the other hand, there's some pretty bright, signs on the horizon in the world of cryptocurrency and, of course, gold. Gold backs are being printed out at record levels. They're having to increase their production capacity at the manufacturer. The manufacturer of Goldback, it's a company called Valarum. They are basically, they don't have time to do anything except Goldbacks. They used to do like these other little notes that they had, and now it's all Goldbacks is what they're doing. So they need to increase their ability to make more so they can do other things as well. So we can talk about any of that stuff. Again, Dunkin' Donuts closing 800 locations. The story here at the Motley Fool is about jobs that are gone and probably not going to return anytime soon. According to their story, the U.S. has been plunged into a deep recession, sending unemployment levels skyrocketing. In fact, jobless claims reached a record high in April. And while things improved slightly in May and June, new restrictions could send the unemployment rate even higher in the coming months. We spoke earlier this week about the Washington Post editorial that was demanding a near total lockdown. They said, we need to have 90% of the population locked down. They were saying farm workers need to lock down, truckers need to lock down, basically shut down the entire food supply.
Do you want to starve to death?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Let's just lock them up.
Yeah, that'd be great. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, and we're seeing crackdowns happening elsewhere in places like California. It looks like Vermont is going with a mask mandate, I think, starting this weekend or Monday. States all across the United States are doing this. Even our very own Keene, New Hampshire is considering
when is that coming into effect in Keene? Because
it hasn't been voted on yet.
Oh, it hasn't been voted on.
Next Thursday.
Do they even have the authority to do that?
I don't know.
I think we should find out.
Wasn't there a case in Nashua where somebody took it to court and they lost?
The initial court case in Nashua was apparently a loss, but I don't know if that was just a motion to dismiss or if that was the case itself. So I'm not sure what happened
That would certainly be interesting to seeing what happened there and why. I remember reading, I don't know if I read the story or if I just read the headline or something like that, but I know there was a case and they lost. And so I don't know. I kind of feel like we're, to bring a lawsuit is to basically ask the court system to basically rule on itself because they themselves are, mandating masks. So yeah.
Well, there's a difference between doing something administrative, which judges have a very wide latitude to administrate the court, to make rules that are arbitrary on a whim. Those conveniences do not in theory apply to city governments, especially in New Hampshire, where the city governments are very limited in what they can do without permission from the legislature.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I see what you're saying, but I have a hard time imagining that they would rule differently just on the basis of the historically, they generally will give for, any kind of health-related emergencies like this. They will give broad leeway to governors and things of this nature in the United States. So
they may.
I don't know.
You may be right about that.
Yeah, but it is a good question. How long can it go on for? Right? As you would presume that at some point it has to stop.
Businesses are going to go under. I mean, I had a local business owner, and I'm not going to say who it was, but a very successful local business owner saying that she's expecting restaurants and bars to close because right now when you go into a bar, we've got a local bar that takes cryptocurrency here in town. You go into that bar, there's not a single person wearing a mask. Everybody seems to be just fine. All's well. It's just like normal walking into that particular bar. If that bar goes mask only, those people aren't going to come in. A lot of them are just not going to come in. They're just going to stay home. They'll drink alone. And
do we have any percent? I'm curious what the percentage of the population, particularly in New Hampshire, is in terms of what percentage are for and against the mask.
That's a great question.
I would think that would have some impact. But then again, people who are wearing masks, you think wouldn't be going to the bars. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I did hear that one of the bars is already just preemptively going to go mask only. That's what I heard the other day.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that turns out for them.
Do you know which one?
I think I don't want to go out on a limb. I'm not 100% on that. But anyway, if you want to weigh in and kind of tell us what's going on in your area, are things getting worse? Or are things getting better? What's your perspective on this? The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Here's a little bit more about the job situation. Rising joblessness, says Motley Fool, could coincide with the end of the $600 weekly unemployment boost that's been keeping millions of Americans afloat these past few months. That $600 boost, which Marsh's CARES Act provided for, expires at the end of July. But because of the way states pay for their unemployment benefits on a weekly cycle, for most jobless folks, it's already gone. Meanwhile, lawmakers are gearing up to present a new stimulus package to provide ongoing relief during the COVID-19 crisis, and extended unemployment is a big part of it, but a continuation of the $600 boost is unlikely to happen. In fact, the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who, by the way, hates Bitcoin, has already come out and said that boosted unemployment will going forward amount to more like an extra $188 to $310 per week. Why not extend the full $600? Lawmakers say it's a deterrent for workers to return to a job, since with it, some out-of-work Americans make more money on unemployment than they do in an employment capacity.
Wow, you think incentives matter?
This seems like
I didn't know politicians knew that.
This seems like such a bad idea. You want people to work. You shouldn't not want people to work. I mean, I kind of understand wanting to, from their perspective, wanting people to stay home, but you want people to stay home and be productive, not stay home and not be productive, if that makes any sense.
Another argument against the boost is the jobless claims we're seeing right now represent a temporary problem, one that's likely to go away once the outbreak wanes or an effective vaccine is made widely available. Of course, that asks, begs another question: is are they going to mandate the vaccine? In which case, I hope that we're going to see more pushback against a mandatory vaccine than we're seeing against the masks.
You want to jab something in my arm? Send bachelors.
Yeah, mandatory. Yeah, any kind of blood draws or mandatory vaccines is
that may cross a line for some people.
Oh yeah, I would hope that crosses a line that line should be
crosses
so
the we're gonna throw hands line
clearly drawn in the sand. The mask thing, but drawing blood or injection of something into somebody's body, no, that's
trust us, we're the government. We wouldn't inject something questionable into your veins.
Yeah, that's a personal
just ask
issue.
all the soldiers that we experimented on.
Yeah,
ever heard of the Tuskegee Airmen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not. What's funny is I probably would go ahead and get that injection for the virus, but I don't think
you would get the vaccine.
I probably would, but maybe not right away. But I would certainly consider getting it, and but I certainly wouldn't want to force it onto somebody else. I mean, that's just what is wrong with people?
Well, but the people who support the vaccines, they want everybody to get it because they want their so-called herd immunity, right? They want to have, I think, at least 3/4 of the population vaccinated.
That's not necessarily clear what the story is with that yet anyway. So you can't really even all right, let's assume that's correct, right? It's still a violation of your personal liberty.
Absolutely.
But
that's been going on this whole time.
My opinion of this is basically you cannot use violence against another person to make yourself or society so to speak safer. That's just, you can't justify violence with violence. Like it's not even violence. It's a safety, but it's not violence. So yeah, it's messed up.
It's violence when they're going to try to force my arm down.
Right. It's like I understand the wanting to be safer part. I get that. Totally get that. And you can take some action to make yourself safer, but you cannot justify, the violence that you are going to, advocate for, when you are not yourself being, violence isn't being used against you or your community or whatever.
If you want to join the show, 855-450 free. In April, 78% of those in households experiencing job loss felt the situation would be temporary. But now, 47% of them think the job loss is likely to be permanent. According to the Associated Press in a recent poll, all told, roughly 10 million workers may need to find a new employer after the pandemic wraps up, and some might need to switch gears and find a new profession altogether. But meanwhile, they say the pandemic is a long way from being over, and until the situation improves, those who are out of work will likely need assistance for a long time. And so they're talking about this new HEROES Act. So the first one was the CARES Act. The next one is the HEROES Act. Where they're talking
more
about
disturbing.
More money, 855-450 free, which means more printing of money, which means likely more prices going up of the price of gold and other things like cryptocurrencies. 855-450 free like freedom. You can join us on the radio. Hour 2's next. Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hurricane warnings up. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Atlantic coast of Florida bracing for Hurricane Isaias. The storm now over the Bahamas with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. Beaches, marinas, and parks in Miami-Dade County closing tonight.
The most important thing people can do right now is just remain vigilant and pay close attention to local warnings and local news. Now's a great time to make your disaster supply kit if you haven't already.
Governor Ron DeSantis, President Trump in Tampa for several events offering federal help.
We'll do whatever's necessary to help Florida and
this storm. I guess it's going to be a pretty rough storm, but I know one thing. After having done this for 3.5 years, you've seen worse.
Officials in North Carolina also keeping an eye on the storm, ordering the evacuation of Oracoke Island, which was slammed by Hurricane Dorian last year. The Boston Marathon bomber will get a new penalty phase trial.
A federal appeals court in Massachusetts is vacating the death sentence for the Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, saying pretrial publicity unfairly affected the defendant's trial. Tsarnaev's lawyer argued his client was denied an impartial jury when the trial court prohibited him from asking jurors about their exposure to pretrial publicity. Many of the charges for which Tsarnaev was convicted were upheld by the appeals court, but on those death-eligible counts, the court ordered a new penalty phase trial. Tsarnaev could again be sentenced to death, but the government must first decide whether it wants to pursue capital punishment. In Washington, John Decker, Fox News.
Health officials in California reporting the state's first death of a child from COVID-19, saying the victim was a teen who had other health conditions. This is members of the coronavirus task force appeared before lawmakers today. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 hasn't let up, but we have to keep this economy rolling. NetSuite will help your business make that happen. That's why over 21,000 companies, including Boll & Branch, makers of the world's softest sheets, choose NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. We talked to David Reed, CFO of Boll & Branch, about how they use NetSuite.
Before NetSuite, we were stitched together with spreadsheets and hope. Now I have only one source of truth for our financials, HR, inventory, and supply chain. Because NetSuite is cloud-based, working from home didn't change a thing. We're still bringing affordable luxury into homes all across America. I'm now closing the books 5 to 10 times faster thanks to NetSuite.
NetSuite surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of the top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox.
A calmer scene in Portland, Oregon, but the protests go on.
We saw 4 things that we have not seen in the past. Number 1, the protesters kind of policed themselves. Number 2, some black men and women actually positioned themselves between the courthouse fence and those who would otherwise climb it or set fires. Also, we saw no tear gas or pepper spray at all last night. Federal agents, local police, and state troopers were nowhere to be seen. Speakers made a deliberate effort to keep the crowd away from the building and urged people to remain nonviolent. So the mayor, of course, claims that basically the Fed's presence provoked the violence and their tactics elevated it. Chad Wolf says that's not true, that the Portland protests were violent long before they were here.
Fox's William Lajeunesse in Portland. An agreement was reached earlier this week for federal officers to leave as long as state police moved in to protect the federal courthouse. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says one student's positive test for COVID-19 will trigger a classroom shutdown under his back-to-school plan, and he says every school will have an isolation room if students feel sick. Britain putting the brakes on virus restrictions that were to be lifted this weekend.
To keep the coronavirus under control, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says we should squeeze the brake pedal. That means casinos, bowling alleys, and skating rinks won't reopen on Saturday as planned. In addition, a regulation requiring face coverings to be worn in shops and on public transit is being extended to museums, movie theaters, galleries, and places of worship. The pullback was announced just hours before those restrictions were set to be relaxed. Opposition politicians support the moves, but they criticized the short notice. Pam Huso, Fox News.
British filmmaker Alan Parker, who directed such diverse films as Midnight Express, Evita, Fame, and Pink Floyd The Wall, has died after a long illness, according to a statement from his family. He was 76. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Welcome back to the War for the White House bunker. A troubling new report from the Shuttleworth Institute shows that due to Facebook, every potential candidate for the 2040 presidential race, no matter how smart or accomplished, is now completely unelectable. I'm standing in the 2012 Democrat Grid with Jason Copeland. Jason, walk us through this.
Yeah, we're looking at really a political crisis. The Democrats are currently searching basements and creepy backyard sheds in search of somebody who was kidnapped at a young enough age that they have no online presence.
That is a very interesting tactic.
question, and the GOP has been looking at this young man. This is a 20-year-old Jeeves Jones. He's currently living in Appalachia with his fundamentalist Christian grandmother and no electricity.
So Jeeves has no Facebook page?
Jeeves does not. In fact, he's completely illiterate, and the Republican Party has begun grooming him for a possible candidacy in 2036.
All right. Well, at least there's someone. Thank you, Jason Copeland.
Thanks, Andrea.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You bring up whatever you want. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. Kicking off the second hour, we're going to go into more of your phone calls and thoughts. Then coming up, creepy license plate scanning, tracking technology. Chris has a story about the Customs and Border Patrol basically saying you can't escape it, as I understand it. We'll get into
right.
Yep, we'll get into that coming up here. Ian, Chris, and nobody in the studio here tonight with you. Let's go into your phone calls and thoughts to start things out with Robert in Vermont. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Robert.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Let me turn you up a little bit here. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah. Hey, so tomorrow over here in Vermont is the day when they start the mandatory masks, I guess.
Oh, boy. That's tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Now, what does that mean, mandatory masks? Like you have to wear a mask when you leave your house, or what are the rules? Do you know?
It sounds like you're going to wear a mask, you know, if you go into a store or a business or, you know, or what have you. And I'm not really too thrilled about it, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go shopping over in New Hampshire.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people do anyway.
I mean, the problem is, at least in Keene, they're going to potentially implement a mask rule too here. So
they're talking about it. I've got details about that. If we get a chance, we can talk about it.
A couple other cities as well in New Hampshire, at least.
It says here, according to the Vermont Department of Health, effective August 1st, so yeah, that's tomorrow, they're going to be mandating face masks in public spaces. They say that anytime it's not possible to keep a 6-foot distance from others who are not part of your household, they say this includes both indoor and outdoor spaces and group living settings. A mask, they then say, helps protect people, blah, blah, blah.
Hope you don't share a room with anybody.
And they say examples of a face mask required at trips to any store, pharmacy, doctor, or hospital, at a gathering in the park with friends and family who do not live in your household, at any indoor or outdoor public event, such as a rally, protest, farmer's market, or campaign event, riding the bus, taxi, or rideshare, walking on a busy and crowded street, before and after a yoga or exercise class. So
the other thing that really kind of stinks about this is I found out today that the job that I had, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get that back. They're not going to be. I work at a warming shelter, and the shelter was closed down the third week of March. And when I talked with the powers that be today, it doesn't sound like they're going to be, you know, having a shelter for this year or next year. And some of the other towns and counties over here are the same way. They're not going to have any shelters. But a lot of the people, though, they're putting them into hotels and motels and stuff. So,
does that mean the state government is paying to put them in the hotel?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Here's some more examples from Vermont. This is when the face mask is not required. They say going for a walk in the woods or in your neighborhood, doing strenuous exercise or activity such as a run, bike ride, or yoga class, children under the age of 2, anyone who has trouble breathing, they say, should not wear a face mask, anyone who cannot remove the mask without assistance, and anyone who has a medical or behavioral reason for not wearing a mask.
I got a behavioral reason.
I was going to say, it sounds like they exempted everybody in our community.
Yeah, exactly. Robert, anything else you want to share tonight?
No, that's a story of my life.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. So Robert there saying that his job may not be coming back, that position that he had may be eliminated permanently, as the homeless shelter itself has no plans to reopen anytime soon. The toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. We were talking about some of the economic damage that has been going on, what with the record level of money printing. As we found out earlier, The amount of money printing happening in just the month of June of this year alone was larger than the amount they'd done over the first 200 years of the entire history of the United States. That's to give you some perspective there. And for some further perspective, here is an update from MarketWatch. Jeffrey Bartosh reporting that the United States economy has plunged at a titanic 32.9% rate in the second quarter of this year. This is what they describe as the steepest recession since World War II. So this is big. In fact, they show a very interesting chart here showing the last 30 years. So from quarter one of 1990 to quarter two of 2020. And you can see what it shows here apparently is the GDP. And let me get into the story here, and I'll tell you more about that. The economy badly battered by the coronavirus. Again, no, it was battered by the U.S. government's and state government's restrictions. Yeah. Shrank at a record 32.9% annual pace in the second quarter, underscoring just how big a hole the U.S. finds itself in as it labors to recover from the deepest recession in American history. The tidal wave of damage from the first global pandemic in a century was almost as bad as Wall Street expected. Analysts by MarketWatch had forecasted a 35% decline in GDP at an annual pace, the official scorecard of the U.S. economy. The economy began to recover in mid-May after a severe contraction at the beginning of the quarter, but the U.S. faces a long road back. Millions of Americans are still out of work. Thousands of businesses have closed, and many of those that remain open have had to scale back operations because of tepid demand or ongoing government restrictions. So even though some businesses have been able to reopen, that doesn't mean that all the customers are rushing back in.
Yeah, I would expect there to be some decline in business, realistically for a lot of businesses, regardless of whether the government, put these restrictions. But putting these restrictions,
some people are staying home,
right? But putting these restrictions is basically making the difference between a business surviving and a business going under.
Exactly. The recent surge in coronavirus cases in about half the U.S. states, especially large ones such as Texas and Florida, have also dealt a blow to a fragile economic recovery. Previously, GDP had never shrunk by more than 10% on an annualized basis in any quarter since the government began keeping track shortly after World War II. So this is the first time.
Wow. So it's not the worst since World War II. It's the worst since they started keeping
track. Right. Consumers, which was shortly after World War II. Consumer spending, the main engine of the economy, contracted by a record 34.6% annualized clip in the spring. The decline was especially sharp in services, travel, tourism, and medical care, eating out, and the like. Businesses that rely on large groups of customers and heavy store traffic bore the brunt of government lockdowns after the pandemic erupted. Spending on services nosedived at 43.5% annual pace. And some people are wondering, what is it going to look like on Black Friday this year? We're already seeing pledges by various different mega retailers that you would expect to have, doorbuster sales on Black Friday, now saying they're going to stay closed on Thanksgiving. So a lot of them had opened previously on Thanksgiving Day. So normally Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, but some businesses were opening on Thanksgiving for the last several years to kind of start the sales early and get people in early. Now they're saying they're going to stay closed on Thanksgiving. What's that going to mean for Black Friday?
I mean, are they going to do some sort of cyber thing where instead to encourage sales? I mean, just shutting down that seems like an unbelievably bad idea.
Well, they're not saying they're going to shut down on Friday. They're saying they're going to shut down on Thursday, which will be Thanksgiving Day. So
you would think they would want to spread out.
That's what the original idea was.
Not shut down more. To be the problem is when you curb your hours, you actually force more people into the store, which kind of contradicts what you're supposedly trying to do, which is keep people spread out and far apart so that they don't contract the virus. These actions make no sense from a health perspective.
The amount of hot and cold running stupid that they've had with respect to this thing is just astounding. I'll tell you what, we're lucky there isn't a real pandemic going on, or we'd be in trouble with these morons running things.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to find out. We'll certainly keep our eyes on it here. You're welcome to join us. 855-450 free. Some more interesting statistics about record drops here. Again, GDP down in, as they say, an annualized basis, 35% decline in quarter two. In quarter one, it was just 5% down because quarter one wasn't really affected by the pandemic that much. And then quarter two, dramatically down, the largest drop in a quarter in decades and decades.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. The IRS is requesting information about privacy cryptos from people that are still filing their income tax forms. Coinbase may be planning to go public on the stock market this year. Stablecoin Tether is now circulating on the Bitcoin Cash network. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Log on now at news.bitcoin.com.
The young lady from the rescue delivered happy, and I panicked. He was missing hair, stinky, scabby, and I thought, what did I get us into? The cause of his issue was poor nutrition. It was neglect. The other owners didn't care enough about him to give him the nutrition he needed, but I have a vet that I trust, and she recommended Dinovite. DINOVITE.com. I ordered the first 90-day supply, and within a couple weeks, his skin started clearing up. He didn't smell. He had more energy. He just had a glow and a bounce about him. We've been using Dinovite for the last year, and Happy the rescue dog is Happy the healthy dog. I tell all my friends who have rescues to give their dogs the chance at a new start with Dinovite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
It's going to pay off for you and your dog for years to come. DINOVITE.com.
If you're looking for work, it's a process of elimination, and you're trying not to be eliminated. So here's a tip for making the cut, and this might seem subtle, but to the person interviewing you, it's not. There is a world of difference between applicants who convey, "I need a job," and those who simply ooze, "I want to work," especially in these lean times when many you're competing with will seem desperate in "I'll take anything" mode. If you convey specific interest in this job at this company, you will be conspicuous. Thus, the value of going to school on the company you're applying to before the interview. With money and attention so tight now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips for job seekers and everyone else, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Like freedom, that's 855-450-3733. You can also join us on our Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. You hop into one of those rooms that's there on the top of our chat list. There's a bunch of rooms where you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners around the clock, but usually that's in text form. There's also voice chat rooms there as well, and the top 4 you can join, and we'll put you on the air, and then you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio tonight. Again, toll-free number 855-450-FREE. So the government's been keeping track of some interesting statistics here that are not looking so hot these days. According to the story at MarketWatch, the economy in the United States, the GDP, shrunk at a record 32.9% annual pace in the second quarter. Way lower. We're talking about 3 times lower than any previous shrinkage in previous recessions in the recorded history.
And I bet this doesn't even take into account that they've been propping up the value of stocks and companies and things like that.
Have they?
Yeah, they have been. They've been like, I think they like outright bought stuff. Well, let's see. I think it was the Federal Reserve that did that.
They're buying stocks.
They're like buying stocks or something of that
Wow.
nature, and it's absolutely insane. They're not. They shouldn't do that. I don't think they've ever done anything like that. And so yeah, it's like this. It's like they're basically artificially keeping the market, the prices on stocks and things high. And if it's gone down on top of this, even though they've done all these things, it's
So
like
they're trying to make it look like
yes,
things
appearances
are still okay.
Yeah, but they're not. They're much worse than they look.
They want to make sure that things are okay for people who are already rich and in no danger.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and that's the big thing. It's basically keeping the rich people rich.
Of course, the politically connected rich people more so than your average rich person.
They'll give a little bit of money to the smaller businesses and things like that, and they'll give even a smaller amount of money to employees. But the real money is going towards keeping those wealthy individuals who own stock, those stocks propped up in order to keep their investments higher than everybody else's. Basically.
Let's go to the phones. We got Steve. He's in Arkansas listening to KFPW there in Fort Smith. Go ahead, Steve.
How you guys doing?
Hey, welcome, sir. Go ahead. Doing great.
It's the first time I've called in a couple of weeks. I actually got diagnosed with COVID.
Really?
So today was my first day I could leave the house, and I wanted to drive around and listen to your show. I was just going to let you know my doctor refused to prescribe any medication, even to treat my symptoms. I specifically asked about hydrochloroquine, and she was adamant that, that wasn't proven and they weren't going to be prescribing that to me. So I called a friend of mine I went to college with, who is now a doctor. He was pretty surprised that she would say that because everyone that works with him is on it, and they prescribe it to every patient. I've had a lot of success with it. I'm on day 3 of the medication, and I feel 100 times better.
So you were able to get it then?
What medication?
The hydrochloroquine.
Oh, okay. You did get it.
Yeah. How did you acquire
that
it?
doctor then, right?
How'd you get it if it wasn't through your doctor?
Well, I have a friend who's a physician that he prescribes it to all of his patients.
Okay.
And so he called in the prescription for me.
So take us back a little bit, though, Steve. You said you were diagnosed with this. Under what circumstance were you diagnosed? Was it a mandatory test and you just found that you had it, or were you deathly ill and you checked into the hospital and they found that you had it? How did you?
No, what happened was I have a buddy that I was hanging out with a week ago Tuesday. He had been tested like 6 days previously, but they told him, you don't hear from us in 1 to 4 days, assume that it's a negative test, and you can go about your business. Well, they contacted him on day 10 and said, oh, by the way, your test was positive. Well, he'd already been out and about. And, he was in the car with me for like 3 hours. We play this Pokemon Go game occasionally, and, we were riding around catching digital monsters, and he gave me the COVID.
Caught something else.
Well, yeah, caught something else.
Yeah.
But, what happened was that was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I started, and I get a sinus infection just about every year when the weather turns. And so it just felt like a sinus infection.
Okay.
You know, my normal, what I go through every year. And, but it just kind of lingered for a few days. And then he called me on Friday and said, "Oh, they just told me that I tested positive for COVID 10 days ago." And I was like, "Well, that's awesome because I was with you 4 days ago."
Yep.
So I went and got tested, got my results on Tuesday that it was positive. And what they told me was 10 days from my symptoms, I would need a quarantine. And today is day 10, so I can actually get out of the house if I need to.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what you went through, though. So you said that it felt similar to your typical yearly seasons changing, stuffiness or whatever. Like, what were the symptoms for you?
Well, it did, and there was a couple of days of diarrhea. There was the loss of taste, and then it kind of settled in my chest, and I felt like it was like a chest cold. So it felt like a sinus.
Were you coughing up? Were you coughing up phlegm when you say a chest cold?
I was coughing up a little bit, but I'll tell you, my abdomen is extremely sore from coughing so much.
Wow.
And Wednesday night, the day I started the hydroxychloroquine, it really started to bust up, but I was coughing so much, and it was hard for me to get a deep breath, without my chest hurting. I went ahead and went to the ER just to make sure that I wasn't developing pneumonia. They did a chest X-ray. They drew blood, tested my organs. They said everything looked good. It was just complications from the COVID. And interestingly enough, the doctor at the ER prescribed me a Z-Pak and a steroid for my symptoms and told me to continue taking the hydroxychloroquine. So he was on board with that med. But my doctor, which will soon be replaced,
wasn't.
Because last time I checked, she works for me.
Yeah, right.
I wanted that medication, and she refused to give it to me.
I'm curious, how quickly did you get on the medication from the time that you started having symptoms? Because I know...
I just started this is just day 3 of the hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, so...
And I went from being in the ER Wednesday night to today. I feel great, other than I still have a bit of a cough, but it's not.
What I'm curious about is if in order for it to help, you have to start it early, right? You have to start it as soon as you possibly can. So that's why I'm wondering how many days from the time that you started having symptoms did it take to get on the
It took a week for me to get the medication.
Oh wow! So you didn't start it early, even. Interesting.
But I would say, well, of course, I didn't know I was positive until Tuesday.
Right.
I got the medication Wednesday.
Right.
But from the time my symptoms started, it was a week.
Steve, if you don't mind, stand by. I got a couple more questions for you if you got time. Hang on with us here. Steve in Arkansas, regular caller of the show, came down with COVID. He's telling us about it, and you can join us as well. This is Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Free Talk Live.
I actually tried to delete my own Facebook. It only lasted 2 days. I couldn't get off it. It was tough. They won't delete it. They want you to come back. They know you're going to come back because it's like a drug. They know you're coming back for it. They're crazy like that.
Some people I went to grad school with, they would give their password to somebody else and tell them to change it so they couldn't log it back on and give it to them after finals were over.
My problem is my password is after my dog's name, Buster, so I actually name all my passwords that.
So what's your
Right, what I'm saying is...
But what's your username?
He's my little bub.
Okay, but you could give someone...
He's very nice.
Okay, so
everybody loves Buster.
Just want to say thank you for redeeming this.
You might
This
want to
is
go
great.
change all your passwords
Yeah,
now.
she's suggesting
well, it's not just Buster. I use capital letters and numbers.
Okay, but...
Great call, man. Thanks for making it. I appreciate it.
I hope that was fake.
Thank God. Of course it was. It was hilarious.
What are you talking about?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms. They're over at discord.lrn.fm. And I want you to know about Intercoin's architecture. It enables programmable coins with a variety of applications. Merchants can add things like tags, like books, food, or clothing to their products, and authorized users can see statistics on how the money was spent. Experts can analyze the local economy. Donors and investors can have more confidence. Everyone in the community can have a real-time consumer price index to inform their democratic decision-making and address issues like rising prices or shrinking wages. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live, so we accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Incorporated for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future at intercoin.org. We've got Steve in Arkansas with us here, listening in Fort Smith, the KFPW. Steve, welcome back here on Free Talk Live. Glad to hear that you're doing better after a bout with COVID-19. You were diagnosed earlier this week and coughing there. I'm sorry, I muted you there. Chris, you're back now. And you were telling us that it was, well, describe the symptoms again for our listeners.
Well, it started off just like with some sinus issues, like a sinus infection, some sinus drainage, sore throat. And the first symptom I had was I woke up like at 5 a.m. and I just had the chills, like I was I was just really cold. And that's unlike me because I'm very hot-natured. So I felt like, well, I'm probably getting a cold.
So it felt like a bad cold or your typical cold?
Yeah. Exactly.
But a lot of
It
coughing
wasn't
at one
until-
point, you said.
Yeah, and that really started over the weekend, I would say, probably about 3 or 4 days in is when the coughing really picked up. And by Wednesday of the following week, as I said, I was coughing so much and my chest was kind of hurting. And so that's when I decided, and that's the day that I started the medication. Which, so I just taken the first 2 doses.
Yeah, and you were talking about how your doctor refused to prescribe to you hydrochloroquine, but you did find somebody else who was willing to do it. You've been taking that, and you feel like it's had a positive effect on you.
Was it just
Oh, yeah.
Was it just that, or was there other stuff that they added to it as well? Because I know there's
just zinc and vitamin D.
Okay, so
both,
it was more than that.
Supplements. And then Thursday, I started taking a Z-Pack and a steroid. I'm not remembering what the name of the steroid is they put me on, but
did you say a Z-Pack? Erythromycin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Azithromycin, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I can't pronounce drug names.
I'm not even gonna try.
So let's look back here. I mean, as somebody who's now come down with COVID-19, you're in Arkansas. Do you feel like has your opinion changed? And what was your opinion about the crackdown, mandatory masks? What's this? What were you thinking before?
I've always been against the mandatory mask. I think that for someone like me now who knows they have it, even though they say that I'm not contagious now, I'm going to throw a mask on if I go in somewhere just to be courteous, you know. But my kids are, I've got a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, and they're both like, now how do you feel about masks, old man? And I'm like, well, I still feel like if you want to wear it, you can wear it. If you don't, you shouldn't have to. But like if I know that I'm going to put someone in jeopardy, I'm going to put a mask on just to be on the safe side, because I've never said that I didn't think this thing wasn't real. I just think it's another version of the common cold. It's just a mutated version of another coronavirus that's been around for
I'm
forever.
curious. I'm curious. Do you usually go to the ER for a common cold?
No, definitely not. But, I had so little, like my doctor has been so flippant about telling me what I need to look for and what I need to do. All I knew is that my chest was hurting real bad. It was hard for me to breathe. And so I was like, well, there wasn't any clinics open at 11 o'clock at night. So I decided to drive myself to the ER. Safe or not safe, I wasn't in jeopardy of passing out or anything. But I wanted to make sure that I wasn't developing pneumonia. That was my main concern.
So you think that this has been
anyone else?
So you think that this has been way blown out of proportion?
Oh, definitely. It's a political football. And it's the same way with the medication. It's just because Donald Trump, which I don't agree with everything Donald Trump says or does, but at the end of the day, the left hates him so bad that it doesn't matter what he says or does. If it comes out of his mouth, it's got to be wrong. Got to be false.
Yeah.
And so, if you are affiliated with any group that hates Trump or whatever, which apparently my doctor is in that lump her in there, then they obviously think that it's rubbish because it came out of his mouth.
Yeah,
and Dr. Fauci, if I'm not mistaken, in 2005, wrote a report about hydroxychloroquine and how it helped coronaviruses. Obviously, this is a different strain, but it still shows to be effective against all the strains of coronavirus that they knew existed at that time.
The preliminary results of hydrochloroquine and the zinc, I believe, and there's a few other drugs in there, I think, as well. But the preliminary results seem to be mostly positive. It was just I think the one study that turned out to be a fraudulent that was held up as proving that it didn't do anything and it harmed you or something. So.
Right, and that's the crazy thing. You got Gates and all them pushing this vaccine, and why would you need a vaccine if you have something that's a 70% cure rate?
Well, they need a vaccine, I think, for reasons that have nothing to do with medicine.
There might be reasons.
That's exactly my point.
There might be reasons to vaccinate, especially like an older population or people at risk. So it may make sense to do a vaccine, but it may not make sense to put people at risk if it's not done well or properly.
Well, if you trust the government, let them shoot stuff in your veins.
The thing is, if they're going to put this vaccine out a year after they discover that the disease exists, that to me is already doing it wrong, because you don't. I mean, it takes years to bring a medication to market because they're frigging dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
and you cannot thoroughly test a drug.
They'll test it live.
Yeah. We'll do it live.
By the way, we just lost Steve's call, but good call, man. I appreciate you sharing your story with us here tonight.
And thanks for not dying.
Yep. Definitely appreciate it when that happens. 855-450-FREE. That's the toll-free number. That's 855-450-3733. So a whole lot of freaking out over, according to Steve, something that is way blown out of proportion. And now as a result, we're seeing tremendous damage to the economy. We're seeing jobs lost and never coming back, they're saying. Also, the, again, dramatic decline in the GDP here. And actually, Steve is back with us here. Just any final thoughts, Steve? Go ahead right now. You got the last moment.
Okay, well, I was just going to make the point that why we already have a drug that has been tested for many years on this particular type of virus. Why would we trust something like nobody was just saying that they barely have done any research on just to try to force feed this vaccine? Which I'm not taking. I don't take the flu vaccine. I'm not taking the coronavirus vaccine.
I'm with you, Steve.
They can throw me in jail.
Yep.
I'm not taking it.
Me too. Thanks for the call tonight, man. I do appreciate hearing from you, and thanks for sharing that story. And I think there are a lot of people who are going to draw their line. I mean, they may be willing to put a mask on when they're told to do it, but when they're told to line up for a vaccine, I think you're going to see a different story. I hope, at least. I hope Americans aren't that obedient, but then again, most of them probably are. More coming up.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have two convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
With gun theft on the rise, it's crucial that law-abiding citizens hide their guns from criminals who are now becoming desperate. Learn exactly how with the newly updated Hide Your Guns e-manual, written by a former U.S. Special Forces officer who now reveals his field-tested secrets. Whether it's sneaky ways to hide your guns in plain sight or using extremely clever hiding places that even skilled thieves will never suspect. Learn how to hide other valuables too, like cash, gold coins, credit cards, so that they're safe from thieves but back in your hands instantly when needed. All this week, get 4 free bonuses when you order. Gun Debate Bootcamp, How to Argue with Liberals About Guns and Win Every Time audio program. Our No BS Home Defense Report, the best-selling Your Home, Your Fortress e-manual, and a special mystery bonus worth $25. Go to hideyourguns.com. That's hideyourguns.com. Don't let your guns be stolen and used in a crime. Go to hideyourguns.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Want to say thanks to Steve, who is a Free Talk Live Gold Amplifier. That means that Steve is contributing $10 a month to the AMP program. And it is super easy to do that. You can do PayPal, you can do credit card, debit card, or if you want, you can do Bitcoin, BTC. Even though the fees, as we were discussing in the first hour of the show, are outrageous at the moment. But there are choices to join the AMP program at amp.freetalklive.com. We appreciate Steve and everybody else who has done that. And if you want to join the AMP program, please head on over to ampamp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. You'll get some cool perks and bennies as a result of doing that. Earlier, we were discussing some of the economic damage here. I mean, it's one thing to come down with the cold or COVID. It's another thing to lose your job and have no chance of having it come back. We were just reading some of these dramatic numbers where since the end of, or shortly after the end of World War II, the government has been tracking the GDP and how much it is growing or shrinking on an annualized basis. And this quarter, the second quarter of the most recent quarter, second quarter of 2020, has been the worst on the record books. By far. No other quarter has seen a greater than 10% drop in the GDP over an annualized basis. And it looks like, according to this chart, the last time that happened was in the 2008 era recession. So it did drop to almost 10% in one of those quarters, but it didn't even hit 10%. Now it's at negative 32.9%. So well more than 3 times lower than the previous record low, which was again back just about 10 years or 12 years ago. Also, we're seeing other things drop as far as consumer spending is concerned. Spending on services has dropped 43.5% at an annual pace as of Q2. Households are spending less on goods, though the decline there wasn't quite as steep. Purchases have dropped 11.3% for households. Americans bought more cars, groceries, and certain other household staples, with many working from home, but the sales of clothing, gasoline, and many other goods all fell sharply. Business investment also stumbled badly as companies either froze or slashed their spending. Outlays on infrastructure such as oil rigs sank 35%, while spending on equipment shrank by 37.7%, both record declines. Investment in new housing also shriveled by 38.7%. But it appears to have sprung back quickly, while record low mortgage rates have spawned a rash of new home sales and spurred builders to step up construction towards the end of the quarter. And we've definitely seen a healthy home sales market here as far as the houses that are on the market. There aren't as many on the market, but those that are on the market are getting snatched up almost instantaneously. At least the ones around here that I've seen.
Interesting.
They haven't even, the ones like in this neighborhood, there are two houses that sold within a week of being put on the market. Like one of them sold in, I think, 5 days, and it was for the asking price. So
now, have the prices of houses gone down? Are people asking less, or are they
I would
asking
say
more?
they're more.
Or more? Interesting.
Yeah. So
because I know people were deciding to refrain from putting their houses on the market at all because I think of fears that they would get less.
Maybe, and that may be true in some places. You know, obviously every market is different as far as real estate is concerned. You may not do as well if you're in a big city because people are leaving the big cities.
True.
But those people leaving the
Where
big
are they
cities
going?
are coming to places like Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Smaller
Keene
towns.
is one of the lowest places. Or let's see, it's the lowest I think in like New Hampshire, or one of the lowest.
What?
In terms of infection rate, and it's in New Hampshire is on decline, where is one of two states declining in terms of infection, as opposed to everywhere else is going up.
The level of inventories also shrank by a whopping 234.6 billion annual rate in the second quarter, compared to an 80 billion drop-off in the first. Companies cut back on production as sales have slumped and exports have tumbled, and that's also weighed heavily on the economy, though production has picked up in the last few months after the economy largely reopened. And even in our business, in the radio business, we're seeing a lot of businesses, a lot of radio stations are having a tough time. Television also having a tough time. Newsprint having an even more difficult time. The local newspaper here in Keene, New Hampshire, was even begging for donations to try to keep the doors open. You know, it's a tough time when the newspaper that has existed since the late 1700s, that by far has certainly paid off their building by now, right? Like, they certainly own that thing. They're not paying mortgage.
They should theoretically be in a good position, but the whole newspaper industry has not done a very good job responding to the internet,
change,
basically. So.
Well, you're never in a good position when people don't want to buy your product anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
As your customer base is aging and literally dying off, it's going to be hard to replace the seniors who have a newspaper habit with zennials who've never picked up a newspaper in their life.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the reality is that the competition that exists because of the internet when it comes to news means that you basically have too many newspapers.
I wonder what they wrap fish in.
What, or you mean what they will wrap fish in when newspapers go away?
Well, if they've never picked up a newspaper in their life, I wonder what they use for fish.
The rate of inflation, they say here, fell at a 1.9% pace in the second quarter. You believe that one?
Nope.
Nope, me neither. Because again, government doesn't measure inflation like inflation should be measured. They have a very tricky system. The cost of a lot of things is not even factored in to the government's official numbers.
Well, basically anything that's going to give you a realistic picture, they exclude from the statistics because that's not what they want you to have.
So that's some of the summaries there from Market Watch about the dramatic declines we're seeing from second quarter, and that given that second quarter is already over, we're into the third quarter at this point. What is it going to look like at the end of the third quarter? Are we going to see even more declines because of the continued crackdowns that are happening across the United States? I wish there were more positive news, and certainly there is in the world of cryptocurrency, where Bitcoin is at $11,000 plus today, gold at record highs as well. But as you pointed out earlier in the show tonight, nobody, that just may mean that the dollar is at record lows if you're seeing gold at record highs.
Yeah.
So it's another way to look at it, is as though it is just a hedge against inflation. Not that you're gaining on the dollar, but you're keeping your value and it's not being stolen from you.
The problem with comparing all of these numbers is gold is, how we value gold is manipulated.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's like trying to compare the two is, how do you compare two different things that are being manipulated?
Crypto prices are manipulated as well.
That's true.
In that, the banks are working very hard to prevent people from being able to transfer money to exchanges, and as a result of that, there's a 10% differential between, or 20% in some cases. I guess some of the Bitcoin vending machines are charging a 20% markup between what we say the spot price is, and the price that you can actually buy the stuff at. So it looks like they're trying to do the same thing that they have already done with gold, which is to obfuscate the price, manipulate the price.
Which they've done with gold for a long
cheap
time by
steel.
selling gold that doesn't exist on paper.
Right.
That's how they push the price of gold down, and they keep it artificially low compared to what it could be if people are actually buying the physical product instead of buying a promise that they have gold.
And then there's also well, I guess that is directly related to the fact that there's less gold that actually exists
than there is available for sale.
Right.
Yeah. And that's been going on for a long time. So let me give you a little bit of good news here in the world of cryptocurrency. Have you guys heard of Joe Rogan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You probably haven't.
I'm
Chris.
terrible with names.
Yeah, so this guy is, he was like a comedian, I think, for some amount of time. I think he hosted, what was it, Fear Factor? This was a very popular.
Still a comedian.
Now he's known as a podcast host. He hosts probably what is arguably the world's most listened to podcast with millions, hundreds of millions of listeners, which is unbelievable. Like, that's a huge number of people. So he's got a global audience of people. And he used the first few minutes of a recent episode, according to Cointelegraph, to read an advertisement for his sponsor, Cash App. And this sponsor was telling his listeners to buy Bitcoin. So now Bitcoin has been promoted by the world's #1 podcast. And we can tell you a little bit more about that. That's a pretty big deal. 855-450-FREE is the toll-free line. That's 855-450-3733. And, of course, we've been saying that for a long time, and nobody had to pay us to do it. But, well, nobody, you didn't pay us to do it, but no one had to pay us to do it. There's more on the way here. Hour 3 is next. You can take control, plus license plate scanners.
Shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Watching the storm. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Parts of the Atlantic coast of Florida under a hurricane warning as Hurricane Isaias drenches the Bahamas. Is on a track for the east coast of the U.S.
Make sure that if you do live in an evacuation zone, you know that zone. You know that if you're ordered to evacuate, you take it seriously and follow suit.
Governor Ron DeSantis. In North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper says they're trying to balance safety from the hurricane with COVID-19 precautions.
The state will coordinate shelters for those who need to evacuate who can't find other arrangements. The reason we're asking people to make shelters their last resort is because social distancing and precautions that go along with a shelter in a pandemic.
The National Hurricane Center says heavy rains from the storm may begin to impact south and west central Florida tonight and the eastern Carolinas by early next week. Members of the coronavirus task force, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, before a House panel today to discuss the administration's response to the virus. He was asked about opening schools for in-person learning.
I think that a default position, despite the fact that we have to have flexibility, would be to try and, as best as we possibly can, in the context of the safety of the children and the teachers, to open the schools.
Many school districts across the country have said they will either begin the year with remote learning or offer a hybrid schedule for students. The Supreme Court has left in place an order that allows the Trump administration to temporarily continue construction of the border wall while a legal challenge continues in court. The ACLU had sued over the construction of the wall on behalf of the Sierra Club and Southern Border Communities Coalition. An ACLU attorney says the fight continues and the Supreme Court's order does not decide the case. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 hasn't let up, but we have to keep this economy rolling. NetSuite will help your business make that happen. That's why over 21,000 companies, including Boll & Branch, makers of the world's softest sheets, choose NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. We talked to David Reed, CFO of Boll & Branch, about how they use NetSuite.
Before NetSuite, we were stitched together with spreadsheets and hope. Now I have only one source of truth for our financials, HR, inventory, and supply chain. Because NetSuite is cloud-based, working from home didn't change a thing. We're still bringing affordable luxury into homes all across America. I'm now closing the books 5 to 10 times faster thanks to NetSuite.
NetSuite surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of the top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox.
The Departments of Health and Human Services and Defense teaming up with drug makers to produce millions of doses of that vaccine to treat coronavirus.
The federal government is paying Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline up to $2.1 billion to develop and deliver 100 million doses of their potential coronavirus vaccine. More than half of the funds will help support further development of a vaccine, including clinical trials, on behalf of the Food and Drug Administration. And by funding the manufacturing effort, the federal government will own the doses. The announcement comes less than 2 weeks after the government said it would pay Pfizer and BioNTech almost $2 billion to produce 100 million doses of their vaccine. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Several sharks have been spotted along the East Coast this summer, and one young man landed one off the coast of New York's Long Island.
TJ Minutillo was fishing with his friends earlier this month, standing in the waters off Long Island, when he got the catch of a lifetime. The 21-year-old college student hooked a nearly 400-pound, 8-foot bull shark, wrestling with it for about 2 hours. He told Fox and Friends he hadn't been sure of what he had until they were able to pull it onto the sand to get a photo.
Once you finally landed it, I was pretty shocked.
He released the shark back into the ocean. Officials on Long Island say the number of shark sightings has more than doubled compared to previous years. The sightings follow Monday's shark attack that killed a woman in Maine. In New York, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
People at the Rhode Island Department of Revenue might be feeling a little embarrassed after mistakenly sending out more than 175 tax refund checks signed by Mickey Mouse and Walt Disney. A spokesman for the Division of Taxation says they used the signatures on test files, which were mistakenly printed on real checks for corporate sales and credit checks, mostly for businesses. New checks with the right signatures expected to go out within a week. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Thousands of outraged meth addicts urged the federal government this week to address the nation's growing spider epidemic. During a marathon 72-hour meeting under the Roosevelt Bridge Monday, tweakers from across the nation drafted a 45,000-word proposal to kill all the acid-shooting spiders before they develop the powers of mind control or, God forbid, flight.
We can't grow these spiders any longer. The government has to... There's a spider there!
The addicts have agreed that the best temporary solution would be for the government to issue them large quantities of methamphetamine and steel wool. A local daddy was put in his bye-bye box Tuesday so that he could go on a long vacation with the birds and clouds in the sky. The daddy, who was once tall and strong and liked going to the hospital to play with their fun machines, was reportedly put in the bye-bye box after weeks of being sleepy all the time and never finishing his din-din. Family had come in from all over to watch daddy get dropped inside a cool underground fort full of dirt and sand, where he'll be tonight instead of being home to play Chutes and Ladders.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Kicking off the third hour of the program. You can bring up anything you want here. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, the Customs and Border Patrol. They got something to say about how effective they're going to be at capturing your license plate. Basically, that you won't be able to escape it. Chris has that story on the way here tonight. And with you tonight, it is Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
But as I was saying, we got some good news here. I mean, it's been all economic doom and gloom so far here throughout the last hour of the show, with dramatic numbers showing huge reductions in the GDP over an annualized basis in just quarter number 2 of this year, record-setting numbers in a bad way in the history that they've been collecting those numbers, which is since the end of World War II. But here's a little bit of good news. You got the number 1 podcast in, I think, the world, certainly in the United States. And no, it's not Free Talk Live.
I wish.
We've got a fraction of the amount of listeners that the Joe Rogan Experience has. So he's on episode 1515, released 2 or 3 days ago. Rogan adopted his customary tone, this according to Cointelegraph.com, used to plug his advertising sponsors, including Cash App, before going on to state some serious technical points about Bitcoin, like stacking Satoshis. We'll tell you what that means here in a moment. Rogan read on the air, again, an advertisement for Cash App, which for listeners who aren't familiar with Cash App, this is a product by the Square Corporation, which is a company that it's competing with PayPal, basically. They're trying to compete with the sort of apps like Venmo or PayPal that allow you to send U.S. dollars from one person to another person. That's sort of where they started. But a couple of years ago, they started selling Bitcoin through Cash App as well. And now, one of the more recent stories prior to this one, earlier this year, was that I think it was in 2019, Cash App's revenue from Bitcoin sales was higher than their revenue from the entire rest of the Cash App business combined.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this thing that they added later in the life of Cash App has become the number 1 revenue generator for Cash App. So it's no surprise they're now telling people they think they should buy Bitcoin in their advertisements on Joe Rogan. And so they had him say this, quote, Bitcoin is a transformational digital currency that acts as a decentralized peer-to-peer payment network powered by its users with no central authority. That was what was said on the #1 podcast out there. The podcaster, most likely aware that many of his 200 million or so listeners may not be familiar with the term Satoshis, which they call sats, speculated on who Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto really was. He said, quote, I don't even know if that's their real name. It's one of the weird things where the internet has always tried to figure out who it is, he said. And it's true. No one has yet figured out who Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin's creator, is. Rogan had previously stated his podcast doesn't necessarily need the advertisements from Cash App, which, if true, makes the endorsement at least partly genuine. Cash App, the payment service developed by Square, has given the users the option to sell or buy Bitcoin since 2018. However, Twitter and Square CEO Jack Dorsey, so the same guy is the CEO of both companies, Twitter and Square, has apparently ramped up efforts to promote the service. The app has been a sponsor of Rogan's podcast since at least February of 2019, when the host was criticized for pitching Dorsey softball questions during an interview. Dorsey also tweeted a picture of the Bitcoin logo on a Cash App-sponsored NASCAR vehicle driven by Darrell Bubba Wallace on July 14th. Now, maybe you've heard of Wallace. He's the only black driver in NASCAR's top racing series. So he's made some headlines recently because of the whole Black Lives Matter thing as a result. Cointelegraph reported in June that Rogan uses a privacy-focused browser Brave to avoid internet ads and Google tracking. The podcaster has also had prominent guests on his podcast from the cryptosphere, including Bitcoin bull Andreas Antonopoulos and Elon Musk. So, regardless of whatever you think of Bitcoin, and we certainly all have our opinions about how it's in bad shape right now from a technical standpoint. This is still good news.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I was thinking about that number, 200 million. That's like
200 million listeners,
almost 2/3 of the United States population.
Which is why I think it's global.
Yeah, it has
can't
to be.
Imagine
it has to be. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking was, now, do they allow you to spend crypto in the Cash App, or is it still just buy and sell?
Well, not really. From what I understand, what they will allow you to do is withdraw the crypto. So I guess technically that's spending it, but it's clunky. The last time I tried
Yeah.
it wasn't like obvious. It wasn't like you have your crypto balance and you hit send. It was like you had to jump through a couple of menus before they would let you remove the crypto from their system. It's set up as sort of like an investment thing, because unlike this show's viewpoint, we want people to spend cryptocurrency, to buy and to spend it, to hold and spend.
Sure.
You can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other, people. You don't just hold or just spend. You can do both.
Usually I'm holding the cryptocurrency, because if I'm not holding it, how do I spend it?
Right. You have to do both. But you don't have. What I'm saying is you can hold and spend at the same time. You don't have to spend it all.
Absolutely.
You can hold some and spend some and then buy some more and spend some and buy some more.
Accept it, and then you don't even have to buy it necessarily.
Yeah, that's the best way to
but
do it.
yeah, certainly buying it, if that's how you have to get it, that's how you have to get it.
And that's what they do with the Cash App. It's just a way for people to buy some Bitcoin and have it, basically. Now it's a custodial wallet, meaning that Cash App has control over your Bitcoin. So it's like Coinbase in that way.
Here's the next question, and I'm pretty sure you know the answer to this, given that it's a custodial wallet. But are they IDing you to sign up?
I'm pretty sure you've got an ID to sign up, yeah. I mean,
okay.
I haven't signed up for Cash App in some number of years.
Yeah.
It's probably been 3 years at least since I signed on to that service, but I'm pretty sure you got to tell them who you are.
But I don't think you need it.
It's a banking app.
I don't think you need a social security number to sign up for PayPal. At least up until a certain point. So I'm not sure.
This is a banking app, though. So, I think in order to sign up for Cash App, and now maybe I could be wrong about this, but I think you have to have a bank account. I think you have to put a debit card into Cash App. Am I right about that?
You don't have to do that right off the bat.
Okay, you can just start taking payments?
I don't believe, because it's mostly designed for like small payments between friends, but they will
but if you want to withdraw,
be demanding KYC if you start doing big transactions or something.
Or if you want to
that.
withdraw it to a bank, I would imagine,
so this is not an app that I would install myself. So that's why I'm curious about what exactly it supports.
I think they've done good work for Bitcoin, though. I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of these custodial services, but that's what most people expect, and that's what they're going to get. Especially as their first foray into getting into crypto, it's gonna be that way for a lot of people. I was really impressed with what they did when Cash App came out with the Bitcoin option to purchase Bitcoin in their app a couple of years ago. They had like a really nice, just gorgeous. It wasn't really animated, but they used this sort of graphical style where it looked kind of cartoony. It was really pretty looking, and like the way you would turn your phone, like it used the accelerometer, the things that tell the phone what position the phone is in, to change the graphics. So if you turned the phone as you were looking at it.
So it's sort of like a hologram almost.
It looked almost hologrammatic. Yeah, I'd never seen anything like that before. And they did it when they were kind of explaining. They had a sort of explainer thing of what Bitcoin was. Yeah. And so it had several pages to it, and it kind of just went over the basics of, what makes Bitcoin different as far as it being a different form of money. And I was really impressed. Like, I thought they did a good job of explaining it and making it look really attractive as well. So they, at that point, were the #1 free app for finance on the Google App Store or the Google Play Store. So, I mean, they're no slouch, right? Like, this is a pretty big app. They were, PayPal's a free app too, and they were higher ranked than PayPal. And this was when they came out with the Bitcoin support.
Certainly interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a good app as far as what it does, which is it's a banking app, primarily. But now they're selling a lot of Bitcoin, and they're having Joe Rogan promote it on his podcast. So these are only good things, and there's no better time than right now to really start looking into cryptocurrency.
I'm curious what their markup is, what their margins are on it.
I don't know about that. That's a good question. It didn't strike me as though there was much of a markup at all.
I'm also curious how much can you buy?
I don't know what the limits are.
There's probably a limit.
There must be. Yeah. I don't know what they are.
There must be some limits because people have used it to buy from me.
855-450 free, like freedom. 855-450-3733. You take control. More coming up.
The young lady from the rescue delivered happy. He was missing hair, stinky, scabby. The cause of his issue was poor nutrition. It was neglect. DINOVITE.com. We've been using Dinovite, and within a couple weeks, his skin started clearing up. He didn't smell. He had more energy, a glow, and a bounce about him.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
News from Bitcoin.com. Twitter hacked, Bitcoin blamed. NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace will soon have a Bitcoin logo on his car. Banks will make $18 billion in fees on COVID-19 relief funds. Bitcoin Cash still lets you control your own money. PayPal confirms it's developing cryptocurrency capabilities while still shutting down accounts of crypto users. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Subscribe to their channel on YouTube.
Ancestry, the global leader in family history and consumer genomics, released results of a survey commissioned to understand how consumers viewed their health risks during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to results, almost half of all Americans and nearly 50% of parents said the COVID-19 pandemic has increased their interest in understanding their possible genetic health risks. Dr. Ron Park, Executive Vice President of Health and DNA at Ancestry.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made clear to many people the importance of taking proactive actions to protect their health and their family's health. The survey shows that this applies to not only concerns specific to COVID-19, but also other health issues such as genetic risks.
Ancestry Health, launched last year to increase access to personalized preventive health care, will soon be powered by next-generation sequencing, an advanced technology that provides a comprehensive analysis of inherited health risks. Visit ancestry.com/health.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way.
You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well,
I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you're scared me.
Property.
What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20, mymagicmud.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, bring up anything you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. 855-450-3733. Also, from mid-March to mid-July of this year, Divvy, the new easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we promoted here on Free Talk Live, increased in value by over 10 times. And nothing is stopping Divvy from increasing exponentially again. In fact, that's their goal. Divvy's price jumped 10 times, and it happened to correlate with the release of their beta wallet. Will Divvy go up further when their wallet is fully released? I don't know, but here at Free Talk Live, we're happy with our decision to hook up with Divvy a year ago. You can go to divvyproject.org, and you can begin earning Divvy by starting a masternode or staking it. They've got a lottery for people who stake Divvy as well. Opportunity has knocked every day here on Free Talk Live since last September. Will you answer? divvyproject.org, D-I-V-I project.org. So let's change gears here, Chris. You've got a story tonight about the Customs and Border Patrol goons and their license plate tracking technology.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. So the U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it's unrealistic for Americans to avoid its license plate surveillance. So this is a very interesting story. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has admitted that there is no practical way for Americans to avoid having their movements tracked by its license plate readers, according to its latest privacy assessment. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm constantly on people telling people how terrible driver's licenses and license plates are for their privacy, and I get these weird looks like, what are you, insane? Are you one of those? I forget what do those people call that?
Privacy nuts?
No, they drive around. Without licenses and license plates.
Freedom to travel advocates?
No.
Sovereign citizens.
Sovereign citizens, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not a sovereign citizen, but I certainly see I would be more of a privacy nut kind of guy. But yeah, I mean, it's people don't realize just how much their privacy has been attacked. Over the years with the development of technology, what might not have been so bad at one time, has turned into this constant surveillance state, and it's these license plates that enable that.
Now, wait, not the license plates, but the scanners, right? We're talking about scanning devices or cameras.
It takes two things, right? It takes the license plate, obviously.
Well, obviously,
if you don't have license plates, the scanners don't work.
That's true.
So, you got the license plate and you got the scanners.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can get rid of, you can say, okay, we can pass a law that says you can't have scanners anymore, but the only way to make sure that it doesn't work is to get rid of the license plate.
Right.
So,
unfortunately, there's no one proposing that.
Right, exactly.
Nobody proposes that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get you elected, and then we'll see from there. So, Customs and Border Protection published its new assessment. What's interesting is that they're actually coming out and saying this, which just boggles my mind. Like, why would you come out and say this? You think you would want to hush it up,
bragging.
Right, yeah. Customs and Border Protection published in its new assessment 3 years after its first to notify the public that it plans to tap into commercial database which aggregates license plate data from both private and public sources as part of its border enforcement efforts. The U.S. has a massive network of license plate readers, typically found on the roadside, to collect and record the license plates of vehicles passing by.
Aren't those prohibited in New Hampshire?
Well, I don't think the state is allowed to.
The state's prohibited, but private businesses are allowed to use them.
I think so, and I don't think that necessarily prevents the feds from doing it. So, yeah, and I think the cameras themselves are semi-banned, but I think they do allow them now. Like the head of the police department's allowed to, like, you have to like get somebody. I don't know who you would be getting permission. Somebody though has to get permission before they put them up, basically. But they're allowed to put them up, but kind of more selectively. And then you have to go through like the police department's head or whatever now in New Hampshire in order to do that. So they're not totally banned like they were a couple years ago. Okay. So it's not as good as it was, but it's certainly better than most states that have cameras everywhere.
So yeah, I was gonna say when you drive around the roads here, the state roads in New Hampshire, you don't see very many cameras.
Not anymore.
That's not to say they don't exist.
There are some cameras in like Manchester, I think, and some other place. I've definitely seen them in New Hampshire. Yeah, but it's a lot. It's much less infrequent.
Like we don't have red light cameras here,
right?
In New Hampshire,
true.
Those don't exist here.
Yeah. Or I don't know if there's none here, but I haven't ever.
There are no red light cameers in New Hampshire that I'm aware of. I'm
not aware of any either, but I don't want to say that there are none. If there is some at some city somewhere in New Hampshire,
I don't think there are.
Yeah, there might not
be. If there are, let me know because that would be the first I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, me too. There may not be. The U.S. has a massive network of blah blah blah.
Because someone would be fighting against it. I mean, New Hampshire is the kind of place where we have a little bit more freedom than a lot of places.
For sure.
New Hampshire arguably may be the freest of the 50 states. And we were talking about this off the air the other night. When you take away a freedom from a people that had the freedom, they notice. They're more likely to notice. Like, we haven't had the freedom to drive without license plates and licenses in our lifetimes, and neither have our parents or our grandparents. But if, for instance, red light cameras are put up in your lifetime and they start ticketing people, people are going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And there's some pushback against that. And we've seen in some cities across the U.S. where red light cameras are foisted upon the population by the politicians, you see a pushback. And, in fact, you see some of the numbers come out that actually red light cameras are more dangerous, they cause accidents, and they actually make things worse on the roads.
Yeah,
so they've gotten rid of them in some cities.
You know what's interesting is I think the part of the reason there wasn't any pushback on a lot of this stuff is because it's a slippery slope. They slowly start off. When they first came out with license plates, they weren't pulling people over probably. And then over the years, they started pulling people over. And then it became this thing where, you're constantly being pulled over. They start doing DUI checkpoints. They start doing all of this stuff. They just keep adding
it ramps up.
And it becomes an issue. But because it's always been little slow increments, nobody,
But it wasn't like that with red light cameras. It wasn't a slow increment. It was a boom, they're here, and now they're ticketing people.
That is true to some degree, but they didn't pop up everywhere immediately.
But they did in cities. They did pop up in a given city, and that's
true.
That's where the pushback happens. This wasn't a state level program anywhere it's ever been done that I know of. It's a city that puts these things in. All of a sudden, people start getting ticketed. Then they get pissed, and then they push back against.
And they're not even like accurate, and they do all this manipulation to ensure that people are caught by the cameras that either aren't guilty or they're guilty, but because they've shortened the light, it's impossible.
They shorten the yellow.
Yeah. It's
which
possible
is dangerous,
to get through. Right? And it creates hazards on the road and everything else.
People die. Yeah. They literally die because of it.
Yep, literally, yeah. License plates are recorded and stored in massive databases, giving police and law enforcement agencies the ability to track millions of vehicles across the country. So basically what they're saying is they're tracking you everywhere you go. You take a cross-country trip, they'll know that you're in San Diego if you started in New Hampshire.
And they're adding to their
every
database.
spot along the way.
They're pulling data from private license plate scanners. So the private scanners are sometimes used in like parking garages, for instance. So if it's a private parking garage, they may be scanning the licenses of the people coming in.
The repo people do it. So the people who basically, if you have a I don't know. I guess it's I want to say a mortgage payment, but not a
car loan.
A car loan, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have a car loan and you don't pay your bill. Well, somebody's going to come and repossess your car. So
they have to know where it is.
They have to know where it is, and that's exactly one of the places where they go because they have set up for private reasons all over the place.
We'll talk more about the bragging. There's a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
855 450 free. They're saying Customs and Border Patrol saying they'll find you. 855 450 free like freedom. Of course, the best solution would be to abolish Customs and Border Patrol and just go ahead and abolish the federal government while we're at it.
Heck yeah.
Entirely. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. 855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
The next generation wallet is coming from Divvy. In just a few taps, you'll be able to send, earn, spend, and exchange digital money in seconds. Send money around the globe with only a swipe. Instantly exchange between Divvy, Bitcoin, and fiat right in the mobile app and withdraw directly to your bank account. Divvy already offers the first one-tap solution for earning passive income with crypto. Multi-tiered masternodes allow everyone to partake in the network. Visit DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org. Do you want to work from home, get paid, and forward liberty all at the same time? Free Talk Live is looking for account executives and appointment setters. If you've got a phone, a computer, internet connectivity, initiative, and a belief in the non-aggression principle, you're qualified. Earn up to $85,000 a year full-time, $25,000 a year part-time. Set your own hours, work from home, spread freedom. Join our team and work with one of the biggest leaders in the liberty movement. Apply now at sales.freetalklive.com. Sales.freetalklive.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You bring up anything you want here. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm, so feel free to join any one of those, and we'll get you on the air here. You'll sound almost like you're sitting in the studio with us. And tonight in that studio, it's me, Ian.
And Chris.
And nobody.
And also want to make sure you know about what's happening in Dallas next week. Free Talk Live, in the form of our very own Mark Edge, is going to be in Dallas August 6th through the 8th for Mobilize 2020. It'll be the biggest liberty-oriented networking event this year, and it's invitation only. But you can get your invitation by going to yaliberty.org/mobilize and register there for the conference August 6th through the 8th. It's amazing there's even going to be a conference this year.
Really?
Yep. Liberty.
Wait, what's this conference?
The Young Americans for Liberty Mobilize 2020 in Dallas.
Like a physical conference?
That's what I'm told. He's physically going there. So
interesting.
I hope other people will go there too.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty lonely for Mark. yaliberty.org/mobilize. I suspect they're planning on having some number of people there. I don't know how many, but it's an opportunity to actually be with other human beings. yaliberty.org/mobilize for Mobilize 2020. It's happening August 6th through the 8th. We're going to continue. We can talk more about license plate scanners and their ubiquity, that the Customs and Border Patrol bragging that they can basically find you anywhere. But first, let's go to David. He's listening in Jackson, Michigan to WKHM. Go ahead, David.
Yes, gentlemen. Good evening.
Welcome. You're on the air.
There again, I don't get much of your show, at least when I can tune in. There's a guy named Dave Ramsey that probably has a contract, but I catch your last hour of the show, and I always enjoy
Thank you.
This program.
Appreciate it.
Let's get to the freedom part.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Libertarian, right? And we've talked about this, guys, and where's the line between freedom and violence? In other words, do you disagree with the United States Constitution?
Well, I didn't sign the Constitution.
The Michigan Constitution parallels the United States Constitution.
The U.S. Constitution. I'm sorry, I thought you were asking a question. Did you want to have an answer to the question?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So my answer, and I'd love to have the rest of the panel answer this question from their perspective, but about the U.S. Constitution was, for its time, it was a good idea in that moment, right? Like, leaving the king, throwing off that system and creating something new, trying something different. I can understand that. I think a lot of the rights that they were supposedly respecting by enshrining them in the Bill of Rights were good ideas. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out, and we now have one of the most tyrannical countries on the planet as far as it's spread across the globe and how they treat the people here at home. Chris, your thoughts on the U.S. Constitution?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm still listening, guys.
I'm thinking, it's kind of an interesting question because I don't necessarily know. Is there anything in the Constitution? And I'm honestly asking the question, because I don't know. I can't recite the Constitution off the top of my head, every word, right? But is there? And I don't recall there being anything in there in particular that came to mind that would be like, oh no, this is bad. I think there were some amendments that have been that they've tried to add over the years that were bad, prohibition of alcohol, I believe, for example.
Well, the creation of any government is a bad thing, and so therefore it's bad.
Right, but it's effectively, it's supposed to be protecting your rights, right?
That's what they said.
And whether it works or not is kind of a separate issue.
That's what I'm kind of asking. Where does it boil down right now? Tomorrow's August of 2020.
Yep.
Freedom. Can we combat the folks that are seriously rioting, and freedom to bear arms, freedom to live peacefully? More thoughts, man?
Well, I want to get nobody's opinion on the U.S. Constitution here. Let's go around the full circle.
Well, I mean, the Constitution, I think, was a step. The Declaration of Independence, I consider to be a step in the right direction.
I agree there, yeah. Absolutely.
The Constitution, I consider to be a step in the wrong direction. I think they were better off with the Articles of Confederation. And it was kind of an end run, and the people who wrote the Constitution weren't really authorized to do that. They were authorized to patch up a couple of issues with the Articles of Confederation. But, the biggest problem is nobody ever asked me if I consented to the Constitution. So that is a huge problem. So I'm going to have to come down on the. I share the opinion of Thomas Jefferson, who said that since previous generations can't legally or morally bind future generations, we should really have a revolution every 20 years, whether we need it or not.
Yeah. I'm still here for sure. Any more thoughts?
Oh, I'm sure we do.
Here's my dilemma.
What are yours?
Here's my dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Being a veteran, allegiance to the United States, of course, back in the day, 58, pledging allegiance every morning to, the flag. And I don't think they can teach that any longer, technically. I don't think in the schools, if they're having school nowadays.
Yeah, do they still do that now that they're having school online in a lot of cases? Do they still do the Pledge of Allegiance online?
That is a good question.
Does that happen?
Highly doubt it.
Well,
highly doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, look, do you know the history of the pledge is that it was created by a socialist? Do you know that?
That may be news to me. I thought I knew everything.
Yeah, it was a guy named Bellamy, and interestingly enough, back in the day, they used to do the fascist salute when they said the pledge. They were the same thing they did for Highland Hitler, although they changed that when
Hitler took it after they did.
Yeah.
Well, you know a year or so.
Early in the 1900s, you can find photographs of school children in the United States doing the Roman salute to the flag. Oh yeah, it's real. And in fact, again, the guy Francis Bellamy, who created the Pledge of Allegiance, as I recall correctly, wasn't he a flag salesman?
I believe it. I never understood the idea of pledging allegiance to a flag anyway.
From Jackson, Michigan, I want to put a shout out to a really good buddy of mine, Coyne, who's really struggling with his travel business after 40 years.
Man, the travel business is one of those businesses that's been wrecked by the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough, and especially now
I'm
with
shocked
COVID.
that anybody still has one.
If you still had it before COVID, I can't imagine you're going to keep it afterwards because almost no one is traveling.
He's trying to restructure his family business. Coyne Spicer out of Jackson, Michigan. Thanks, man.
David, thanks for the call, man.
Always welcome.
Definitely appreciate hearing from you tonight. Interesting question. I'm glad you brought it up because it gives us the chance to talk about one of these fundamental things that people take for granted, but they still don't. It's not helping us, okay? The Constitution is not doing a lot to protect anyone's rights. I mean, look at how the federal government behaves. Whether it's under Trump or whether it's under Obama, they're murdering innocent people around the world in bombing raids.
No consequences for violating it.
They're snatching people off the streets of Portland and, they're not black bagging them yet, but they're snatching them off the streets.
Well, hold on. That's not necessarily the case either. They were doing that after 9/11. They started black bagging people, just kidnapping people. The question is, I don't know if they were doing it in the United States, but they certainly were doing it around the world.
Oh yeah, they took them to the CIA rendition sites,
throwing bags over people and throwing
and torturing them.
Yeah, and torturing them, and then taking them from one country and moving them to another country so that their rights couldn't be there were laws in those countries that prohibited kidnapping.
Yeah.
And the U.S. government went into these countries and literally kidnap these people and force them to leave the country and go into a country that allowed torture and then tortured them. So.
855 450 free like freedom, massive surveillance, which is what we've been talking about here earlier in this hour. We can come back to that story if we get the chance, but your calls come first. If you want to dial in, you got one more segment to go with Free Talk Live tonight. 855 450 free like freedom.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MechTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422. Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Mineral Doctor. You've heard me talk about 90 for Life for years. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids. You may not know this, that I've actually designed Arthrodex for animals. That's right. Your pets need 90 for Life too. Get this essential pet product by calling 877-279-9422. That's 877-279-9422. Again, 877-279-9422.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, bring up anything, toll-free number here. 855-450-FREE, like freedom, 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in lines. They're over at discord.lrn.fm. It's so weird. Last night we had almost all Discord calls, and tonight we've had none. So you just never know how that's going to go. All our callers tonight have been on the regular phone lines at 855-450-FREE. It's Ian, Chris, and Nobody here in the studio tonight. You can check out Nobody's website, electnobody.com. Which so far, by the way, you're going to be doing a show tonight, Nobody. We should mention that. It's coming up on our DLive and Twitch channel. So it's video exclusive, so you have to be on subscriber or follower of one of those channels. And you can go to dlive.lrn.fm or twitch.lrn.fm. Hit the follow button to keep track of what's going on there. But it starts usually a little bit after 10. We may push it back to like 10:20 because you've got some special guests coming out from Manchester tonight, so we're not sure exactly when they're going to arrive. But that will be happening, so stay tuned to those channels for more Nobody discussion. But, one of the things I just, as an aside, I'm surprised about so far is that I don't feel like there's been really any coverage whatsoever of the primary so far. Like, you haven't gotten any news media coverage at all for running against Sununu. I think the other candidate who's running against the incumbent Sununu, Karen Testerman, she got like an initial article that I saw at one point, but I haven't seen anything else since then. I don't know if there have been any polls or anything like that. Have you even gotten any interviews yet on this case?
I had an interview like last week, but yeah, it seems like everybody's I don't know what it is, but it seems like people are just going along with that, whatever the government throws at them.
Yeah,
and they don't.
I've received a few emails over the last month, since early June, actually, so a month and a half or so. And I've received emails from the ACLU of New Hampshire saying they're doing a series of online discussions, because no one's meeting in person, but so they're doing these, Zoom discussions, and they're having the gubernatorial candidates on.
Okay.
But so far, they've only invited the Democrats. And I sent them an email back during the Fork Fest when I first saw this, and I sent them another email earlier this month, and I haven't heard back from them. Which is, it's strange.
So is this ACLU of New Hampshire?
You donate to their organization,
right.
You show up for their events. I'm surprised they wouldn't at least give you the courtesy of a reply.
Yeah, and so I've
ACLU of New Hampshire then.
Yeah, ACLU of New Hampshire, which, like you said, I'm a supporter of.
That does seem kind of odd.
And what I'd written to them was like, hey, I see you're having these governor series of interviews or whatever you want to call them, crowd town halls or whatever, and are you going to be inviting nobody to this? He's running against the incumbent on the Republican side, and he's great on civil liberties, so I think your supporters would really like to hear from him. He was at your most recent dinner. Nobody and I went together to their awards dinner last year, so he's a supporter of your organization, and it's been crickets. I've had no reply.
It's interesting that they're doing anything at all in regards to this, because generally these organizations are not allowed to, do that kind of thing because of
to hold a town hall.
Their legal status.
Oh no, they're allowed to have a town hall.
They're not allowed to endorse candidates.
They're not endorsing candidates. They're holding a town hall.
Okay.
Yeah, the people who've done debates have always been. At least theoretically neutral. The legal
it doesn't
voters.
If they're only doing one side,
that's what's weird about this.
Kind of.
I get it. The ACLU is a lefty organization. I understand that would be their inclination.
The New Hampshire ACLU seems to be more in line with the libertarians than the
Well, that's
Democrats.
just because they're a principled group and they're pretty good on civil liberties, and we agree with them on almost all of the issues.
Yeah.
But still, I'm disappointed so far that they haven't responded.
It's certainly a disappointing
at
thing
all.
to hear. I will say that I think the ACLU has gone downhill, not just New Hampshire, but in general.
Yeah.
Nationally,
at the national
level.
Since Trump,
bit.
they lost their minds.
I do feel like you're right. They've I forgot what they did here recently, but it was something that was like, ooh, you crossed a line that you were really good about not crossing. Previously.
Yeah, you think of the national one. The national ACLU has done a couple of line crossage.
Yeah, a little bit.
And we're not going to get into it here, but we are going to get into your calls, where David is on the line in New Mexico. David, go ahead. You're on Free Talk Live, listening via the TuneIn app.
Man, I'm looking at Ballotpedia for Karen Testerman. I'm scrolling down. I can see these candidates here: Chris Sununu, Karen Testerman, and some dude named Nobody.
Yep.
What the hell is that?
Nobody cares.
Yeah, forget about it. Must be a real nobody.
I wonder if nobody had
though.
filed as a Democrat, would the ACLU still ignore him? Because when I filed as a Democrat to run for governor, there was a race. I did it twice, and the second time there were 5 candidates in the race, and there were 3 that were sort of like the anointed ones, the political class. One was like a mayor from Portsmouth, another was a former state rep or whatever, right? Like they're people who've had the political positions, and then there was me and this other guy named Derek. And we were like completely sidelined by almost every any debate or anything else because we weren't like in the club. So I do wonder how they would treat nobody in this particular case, but we don't get to find out this time at least. Anyway, David, what else did you want to share?
Oh, I'm sure they'd be all into it then, but the same kind of deal.
I'm not sure about that.
First of all, well, maybe. The governor of New Mexico doubled down again on keeping everything closed, being the most restrictive in the nation on these virus restrictions, business closures, mask requirements under penalty of $100 fine, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason it should matter to people outside of New Mexico is I doubt it's going to happen, but she's still on the short list of possible VPs for Biden. And if they happen to choose her, then obviously the plan for Biden is that whoever the VP pick is going to be your next president, because it seems to be pretty obvious that they're not going to run with him for 8 years from the point he gets elected. And so if they ditch him in his first term somehow, it's going to be for his VP, and this woman could be your president. And therefore, you might want to take a look at her videos like the one she put out today and see what kind of a schoolmarm she is. If you don't like being told what to do, you should listen to how she tells her little peon New Mexico residents what they can do and what they can't do.
Now, what's this woman's name?
Michelle Lujan Grisham.
So, I don't know when they're going to pick this person or how. Are they even having a convention? What is the process for selecting this person?
I have no idea, but
or does Biden just decide?
Obviously there's things that go on behind the scenes, so we don't, unless you're behind the scenes, you really don't know, how the hell they do it.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is they got to pick somebody, and this woman is still a possibility, and you really need to look at how she talks to her 2 million citizens in the state of New Mexico, because it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'm sure it's very much a nanny statist, but I'm sure everybody else in the that they're going to nominate is going to be bad too. But David, thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it. I mean, Biden, I don't even know if he can pick the T-shirt or the shirt that he puts on in the morning. Listen to this guy. Here's the latest clip. Somebody posted this in our Discord. I'm not going to say his name because it's a little on the profane side, but somebody with the last name of Trickle posted at 6:17 tonight. This is Biden being interviewed from his basement or wherever it is he's holed up. Here's what he had to say. See if you can make any sense of this. Oh, no, they took it down. They took it down. Twitter took it down.
Censorship, man.
No, here it is. Let me see if I got it here. I think I've got it now.
Nurses at
here, let me start over.
Nurses at Walter Reed Hospital who would bend down and whisper in my ear. Wow. They'd go home and get me pillows. They would make sure they'd actually, probably nothing ever taught in, you can't do it in the COVID time, but they'd actually breathe in my nostrils to make me move, to get me moving. Nurse.
Just sort of this rambling statement about his time in Walter Reed Hospital, blowing in his nostrils, and I don't know what he was talking about, but
why were they blowing in his nostrils?
To get him moving, he says. Apparently that got him moving.
Why did they want him to move?
I don't know. It's very strange.
Was he in the way?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand.
Steve, you're in Jackson, Michigan, listening to WKHM. Go fast. You got the last 20 seconds here.
Gentlemen, just want to say, just started listening to you guys. Got to watch the Crime List Victim Spree. Love you guys. Going to be a long-time listener now and appreciate what you guys do. So
thanks, man. Victimless Crime Spree is what you mean.
Awesome movie.
Great movie, and you can watch it for free at victimlesscrimespree.com. We had Derek J. call in last night to announce that his criminal record has been completely nullified, so he no longer has been arrested for any of the things that he was kidnapped for back in the day. He's got a clean slate, and as he says, the crime spree, the victimless crime spree is finally over. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Remember Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
810 continue. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The Supreme Court ruling construction of the border wall can go on for now.
When the president couldn't get Congress to allocate money needed to build the wall on the U.S.-Mexico border, his administration diverted money from the Pentagon. The ACLU sued on behalf of 2 environmental groups, alleging it was unlawful to divert $2.5 billion of military funds. While the groups allege environmental harm because of the wall, the lower court judge and Ninth Circuit ruled the administration circumvented Congress's power of the purse in reallocating that money. The ACLU notes the ruling is temporary and does not decide on the merits of the case, so they say their fight is not over. There is a similar lawsuit over the diversion of $3.5 billion for the border wall pending before the Ninth Circuit. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Hurricane warnings in effect for Boca Raton to the Volusia-Brevard County line in Florida as Hurricane Isaias bears down. President Trump in Tampa this evening offering federal help.
I ask all of those in the path of the storm to follow the guidance of your state, local, and tribal officials. My administration will be here for you every single step of the way. We've done everything we can do, and now we're just waiting for the storm.
The hurricane now dumping heavy rain on the Bahamas. The National Hurricane Center says the storm may begin impacting Florida tonight and the Carolinas by early next week. A federal appeals court has ordered a new death penalty trial for convicted Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev for the 2013 attack that killed 3 and wounded 260 others. His lawyers had argued that intense media coverage made it impossible for him to get a fair trial in Boston. He remains convicted of the bombing and is in a supermax prison in Colorado. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been released from a New York City hospital where she had a medical procedure earlier this week. The High Court says she's home and doing well. America is listening to Fox News.
America's ready to get back to work. But to win in the new economy, you need every advantage to succeed. Smart companies run on NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. With NetSuite, you'll have visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more.